Crypto World News. Our vision is to provide the world with non-stop content about all things crypto. News, reviews, fundamental and technical analysis, trading ideas, and mining discussions. We believe that it is most important to educate everyone about how and why cryptocurrencies are changing the world. By building this community for investors, traders, business owners, crypto fanatics, all over the globe.
Alrighty, Crypto World News fanatics. We got DejaBrew in the house. Deja, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hey, what's going on, man?
What's going on?
So I think we got you in the schedule for an hour, but you're coming on 30 minutes early. So we might have an hour and 30 minutes with DejaBrew. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Hell yeah, brother. Well, yeah, so for those of you guys who don't know, Deja streams on Twitch. You'll get all that information probably about halfway through his show, and then towards the end. Stick around. He's a swell guy. And yeah, enjoy.
All right, guys. How's it going?
Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome. It's actually my first time even being in the channel when you guys are in the Twitch live talking to each other, so I didn't want to come on prematurely. But yeah, it's nice to see some good familiar faces in the chat. What's up, guys? Appreciate you guys spamming my emote. If you guys are not familiar, my channel is DejaBrewTrades on Twitch. I stream mostly education, so I try to educate new traders or even intermediate or expert traders kind of on how they can improve their trading. Basically doing the basics of technical analysis all the way up to creating advanced strategies. I've been trading for about 6 years now. I started when I was 16 in high school. I started off trading in mostly simulators and paper trading. So for the first 3 years, I paper traded on simulators for stocks, futures, Forex, or not Forex, binary options, stuff like that. And then after that, I went on to starting to swing trade stocks with real money. And I did pretty good. So once I realized that I kind of wanted to do this full time every day, I started to look into day trading. The problem was in the United States, we can't day trade unless we have $25,000. You're not allowed to trade more than 3 times a week, day trade 3 times a week in the United States without $25,000. So I had to find other avenues that I could day trade. So then I went on to futures, which is very, very lucrative. And I started trading futures about a year or two ago. And I made a lot of money, lost a lot of money. But at the end of the day, I didn't like the way the futures market traded. So I was looking for other markets that I could day trade. And the other markets that were available were Forex, crypto, and a few other options. And I never really got interested in Forex. And my buddy back in September interested me in crypto. He saw that I was trading stocks. I was doing pretty good. So he was like, all right, man, he wanted to give me Bitcoin to let me play with. And I was like, I don't really want to take a loan. But he's like, no, it's not a loan. Just take it. If you make money, you can pay me back. If you don't make money, don't worry about it. I was like, all right. So he gave me 0.04 of a Bitcoin back on September 20th, which if we look at the daily chart on Bitcoin was pretty low back then. So yeah, like right here. So I started when Bitcoin was around 4,000, and that was in September. So I got in right before the biggest bull move we've ever seen in Bitcoin. So I obviously had a good time in the past, or in that 3-month span. I started with $160 and I turned it into about 6,000 at the peak. So at the peak of Bitcoin, my account was at $6,000. And how I did that was I started with 160, just doing very, very small trades, mostly like swing trades. And then I went on to start day trading it. And I realized I liked the day trading aspect a lot more than the swing trading. Even though when I was swing trading, I was making 20% here, 30% there. I liked scalping a lot more. So then I started scalping it. And I grew my account to about $1,500 from the 160. And then I invested in this small coin called Ripple back when it was like 50 cents, 60 cents. And I rode it all the way to $3.30, whatever the high of Ripple was. Yeah, I rode it all the way up. And I was new to crypto, and I got stuck in that euphoria that it's just going to keep going. And I never sold. So the biggest mistake in my trading career, I bought Ripple down here, and I watched it go all the way up. And I watched it go all the way back down.
Oh, no.
And I did not sell anything. I held my coins the entire way. And honestly, looking back, I couldn't tell you why I did it. I kind of just got locked in that euphoria. Obviously, you can see where I bought in to how fast it went up. It definitely locked me in there. And I should have definitely sold it as it was coming down. But technicals were basically out the window at that point. I was completely emotionally involved, and I didn't sell anything. I just recently sold my first piece of Ripple. I sold like 300 at like $1.
Did you think it was going to double Bitcoin's market cap?
Did I think Ripple was going to double? No. I was just completely locked in the fact that it went up so fast. I thought I was going to keep going. My target was like $5, so I was a little off, about $1.
You have to double Bitcoin's market cap to do that.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It would have to double Bitcoin's market cap at that point to hit.
Yeah, I realize that now, but I was new to crypto at the point, so I didn't look at market cap or any of that stuff back then.
It took Barack weeks to talk me out of ADA. I did the exact same thing. Rode it all the way up, and then I let it bleed me slowly all the way down.
Yeah, I've got a trading bot stuck in ADA. I'm down like 40%, I think. But yeah, when this was only like, what, 2-3 months in crypto, and I didn't really understand the whole market cap. It was going to take over Bitcoin, all that stuff. I didn't look at all that. But now, obviously, I'm a much better trader. And honestly, I think me losing this trade made me a much better trader for sure. I know not to hold on to things that long. I know not to hold on to them, especially when they're tanking. I definitely need to set trailing stops, have an exit strategy, have profit targets.
Can't trade with emotions.
Exactly. And I was actually live streaming most of the crash, because I started live streaming in January. So I was live streaming most of this crash here. And my chat kept telling me, are you going to sell? Are you going to sell? And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm going to hold on to it. It's probably going to come back. So they got to see the thought process behind someone who doesn't really trade based on technicals. And since then, I've definitely started trading on technicals. And I promise you guys, if you learn technicals, you will be a much better trader. Even if you're a fundamental trader, if you learn how to trade technicals, you will be a much better trader. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to start going over some basics. Let me delete all this stuff. So I'm going to start going over some basics on what I started learning with when I started trading. One of my favorite books to recommend to people is Getting Started in Candlestick Charting by Tina Logan. It's a very, very short book. It's only like 250 pages. But the way that she breaks it down is very simple for people who know nothing about technicals to understand. So that's a good book. There's a lot of other good books on my channel. I'm not going to go through all of them. But let's get started here. So I'm just going to go through some basic candlesticks. So if you guys can look at this chart and you guys don't know what these candles are. So for example, if you don't know like what that candle is, what this one is here, like all these different candlestick patterns, I'm gonna go over this. So this is, if you see a candle with a long body, so if you just have a long body, no wicks, so we have no bottom wick, no top wick, that is just like a strength candle, depending on where it is in the trend. For the most part, it's a strength candle. It shows bullish strength or bearish strength, depending on if it's a red or green candle, obviously. And then you start getting into the candles with the wicks, and that's where it gets tricky. And they depend on where they are in the trend. So, for example, this one here, that would be almost like an evening star candle, this one right here. An evening star candle is when you have a strength candle, you have a star, and then you have another strength candle. This one should be green. This one should be red. This one should be red as well. It doesn't have to be red, but if it's red, it's a stronger signal. And that's an evening star. So the opposite would be a morning star. When you have a red candle into a star. Sorry, I'm not an artist. Into another strength candle. And this should be red. This should be green. This should be green. So we should go from red to green. And that would be a morning star. Those are very strong on the bottom of trends. If you see a long trend down, and then you see the star pattern form, you'll typically see a stronger trend up. And let's look for some examples. Here you have an example here. That would be a morning star. It's a red candle. So like I said, it can be red. It's better if it's green. And it's better if it doesn't have very, very long wicks. This one, let me zoom in a little bit. This one has a long top wick and a small bottom wick. It doesn't really matter, but it's definitely a better candle if it has smaller wicks. If it's almost like a doji. If you guys don't know what a doji is, this is a doji. When you have a small body, small wicks on both sides. This is a candle that shows indecision. So it shows you that the market doesn't really know which way it wants to go. We have a lot of other candles here for reversal patterns. For example, this candle right here, you could have saw this down move coming by just knowing what this candle is. This is a hanging man candle, so it's called a hanging man because obviously it looks like a body. You have the body here, and then you have the head. So typically you'll see these at the top of trends like this. You see a nice trend coming upward. You see the hanging man candle form, and then you have that big failure downward. The hanging mans will signify a reversal coming on the downside, towards the downside. Another reversal pattern for a downside move would be dark cloud cover, almost like we have here. So we have a strong up move, and then you have a bullish candle followed by a bearish candle that covers the bullish candle. So you have a red candle here that covers the green candle. So it's like think of it as a cloud covering. So that's why it's called a dark cloud cover. And this will usually signify a down move incoming.
You say here, can you circle what you're talking about?
For a candle for a dark cloud cover?
I'm just saying, like, every time you say here, can you...
I'm just, I'm not actually looking at candles on the chart. I'm just drawing them. But I'm going to find one here for you. There's not too prominent of a dark cloud cover on the daily. Let's see if we go to the shorter term.
That's all right.
Yeah, I don't see one too prominent, but it's almost like this here. So you have this bullish candle on the top of an uptrend, and then you have the red candle almost engulfing it, but it's towards the upside with the top wick. That shows you dark cloud cover, signifying that the price tried to go higher, but it failed all the way back down, almost to the low of the bullish candle. And that signifies the bears are beating the bulls, so you're going to see a down move incoming. Let's go back to the daily. So another one of my favorite candles to exit on if I'm in a bullish pattern to take profit is the gravestone. So when you see a strong up move and you have a bullish candle here, but then you're followed by a doji almost. Here, let me delete this and go a
Look
little
at
lower.
Bitcoin Cash right now, and
Yeah.
maybe that's is that a hanging man?
On what time frame?
E- Every time frame you should be able to see it. I think 5 minute.
Are you looking at BTC?
Bitcoin Cash.
No, I mean Bitcoin Cash to USD or to BTC?
To BTC. Sorry. Oh no. What is BitMEX? Is that the?
Well, you can do both. It's got a USDT pair and it's got a BTC pair.
So I don't see a hanging man. I do see a gravestone that I was just trying to talk about, but this isn't a very good gravestone. This is a bearish harami though, right here. What? I don't see the hang. Which one were you? Which one were you saying was a hanging man?
I don't know. I'm not really. I don't know candles. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah. Here. So hanging man, I don't see one here. So a hanging man would be if you have this strong uptrend here, and then you have a long bottom wick with a small head, and then you have a red candle to follow. So think of this candle, but upside down. So this would be what I was almost getting ready to talk about as a gravestone. So if you have a strong uptrend, and then you have a candle forming high, so it's starting to form a big bullish candle, but when it closes with a small body and a very long top wick. That's a gravestone. It can be a shooting star as well. And this is confirmed by a red candle. So if you have a green candle here, and then you have a gravestone, and then you have a red candle, that is a very, very bearish pattern. So if you see this pattern and you're in a trade, you should be looking to exit. Here's another good example of a bearish candle. This is a bearish harami. So when you have a bullish candle, and then you have a bearish candle inside of it, this is a much better signal if it's a small doji. So if you have like a small doji, so green candle and then red candle. The red doji should be inside the green candle, and that will signify a drop. That's called a bearish harami. The opposite is true for a bullish pattern. If you have a red candle, and then you have a green candle inside of it, this is a bullish harami. So some of the most prominent patterns on like breakouts would be candles like these, like the engulfing candles. So you have a bullish move here, and it's finding a top. You start to see the inside bars. So the inside bars is when you have all these big candles here, and then all these candles start to form smaller and smaller. So you have all of these inside bars, kind of a consolidation pattern, almost like a flag. But then you have this strong engulfing candle. It engulfs all of these candles. Engulfing as in it's bigger. So you have, say, like one candle, two candle. You have all these small candles. It doesn't really matter how big they are. But then you have a very, very strong candle. This can be bullish or it can be bearish. And that's an engulfing candle. That signifies a big move coming. So you have an engulfing candle here, and then you obviously are failing off, so you're in a downtrend. I saw a few questions in chat. Let me see. Could one of you guys like feed me questions from chat?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because it's hard to keep up with chat while I'm.
Yeah, and now we're talking about Dixo for Harami. So
Yeah, yeah. I saw,
what are you currently seeing on BTC?
Let's see.
That's the
Are you
most
looking
recent question.
for whoever asked the
He was
question? Are
in
you looking?
specific.
He wasn't specific. Okay. So I'm not sure if you're looking for the trend, if you're looking for the candles.
I
Let's
think that's
see.
what you're looking for.
Okay, so what I'm looking for Bitcoin, let me pull up my other charts here. I think I deleted all my levels. So we actually had a fantastic short on this on my stream. I think it was 2 days ago, 3 days ago. We shorted it on a break. We missed this break because I was sleeping, but we shorted it on a break of this line here, and we targeted the bottom here. We missed it by 0.3%. So I got out of this almost 0.3% off the bottom. We almost bottom ticked that, so it was a beautiful trade. The problem was I started to see this consolidation here, and I thought we were going to continue lower, but then we broke this long-term double bottom line back. Let me pull this up. I'll show you where I got this level from. It's probably easier to see without my Bollinger Bands. So this double bottom line here, you have the low right here that started this high. So you have this low here that created this high. And then you also have these two wicks here, this low that created this high. So you almost have this double bottom forming here. So that's where I got that support level from. And when it broke that support level, I shorted it. So now we're seeing a break back above that level. So we're starting to get a little bullish here. It broke on very good volume too. So if I zoom into this, this is a strength candle that I was just talking about. So we have the strong move down. We have the inside bars, the candles here that are consolidating. And you can set a short-term level. You could set like a level at the top of these bars here. So when it breaks these bars, you're breaking out of that consolidation. So if you set a level like right here, say the top of these bars, this candle here on high volume could have signified this bullish move incoming, especially since we broke the long-term double bottom line. You can see it hit this level perfectly. So we broke this double bottom line right here on a very bullish strength candle. And look at where it failed. It failed right here on this level perfectly. Let's see where that level came from. That level is actually a pretty short-term level. It's not that far back. That was the low right here that created the most recent high. So we have this low here that created the most recent high, failed, and look at where we bounced. We bounced right off that same low. So Bitcoin is a great example for what I just started to teach. Candlesticks, support levels, resistance levels. You don't need very many indicators to trade Bitcoin. If you just find your levels and you understand candlestick patterns, you do not need indicators. And I showed that not even like 2 or 3 days ago when we shorted. I shorted based on a level break. That's all I did. I did not look at any indicators. We didn't look at any fancy strategies. All we did was we shorted on a level break. And
just to reinforce that a little bit, like I myself, I don't know which specific candle exactly means what, but if you're following trend and volume and the bigger picture, it's plain as day. You don't need all the extras. You can use the extras to validate your opinion.
And that's exactly what they're supposed to be used for. People are kind of getting away from that fact, but everybody trades differently. But what you guys should understand is you need the fundamentals of trading. You need the basics before you can add on a bunch of indicators. So you have to be able to look at a chart. Let me hide everything. You have to be able to look at a chart like this, even without a moving average. You need to be able to look at a chart with candlesticks and volume, and you need to be able to understand how to find levels and how to understand where the trend is.
I just said that earlier to somebody.
If you cannot understand how to look at a chart like this, indicators are not going to help you, because price action is king. And if you can't understand price action, you can have 20 indicators and you'll still lose a trade.
How about pattern play?
Do you mean candlestick patterns like head and shoulders?
Or just like trend patterns? Like, for instance, I think this looks like a bear flag.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Like being able to look at a chart with just candlesticks and kind of take your trend lines and find like candlestick patterns, like bull flags, bullish pennants. What are some other ones that people like to trade? Ascending triangles, descending triangles. You should be able to look at a chart without indicators to be able to find that.
I've never drawn a triangle.
You've never drawn a triangle? Triangles are
80%
actually
yesterday. I know, but
triangles are they're very helpful. Let me go to my.
I guess.
I'll show
sorry.
you. Let's see.
I actually took a screenshot of what someone asked me for earlier. I'm just gonna post it.
My ideas aren't very good. I'm pretty bad at making ideas. I'm very bad at putting what I'm thinking into words.
I think you're doing great.
Here we go.
What do you guys think, Twitch?
So here's a perfect example of an ascending triangle here. So this was Ethereum. Well, obviously we're all looking at Ethereum at $300. We all wish we would have bought it. But you're seeing this beautiful ascending trend line here with the descending tops, and then you have the double top here. These are on Heiken Ashi, so the price action is a little distorted. But then if we look at what it did here, let me zoom in. So by just drawing this triangle, by just understanding this price action, you could have said, I'm going to take a long right here. And what price is that? 336. You could have said, as soon as it breaks this level, I'm taking a long. But I'm very scared about this double top. So if you took a long here, you should have been scared of this double top. But Ethereum obviously wasn't scared of it. It destroyed that double top. So it destroyed it, came back, and it almost tested that trend line perfectly. So we broke the trend, broke the double top, and then we failed almost all the way back to that same trend. We missed it by maybe $10. And then we obviously took off, so we can't really judge this pattern off of this. But in the short term, by just drawing this triangle, this could have given you an entry. And that entry was good for, what is it, $600? However much it went up. It went up to 1,500, so yeah, it went up a lot. Let's go back to my charts.
There's a couple of questions that came up. I just tried to grab it out. Ace Dudley wanted to know Litecoin, given the current trends, news, and movement, do you think it's feasible, the 5 to 8K earn a year?
Litecoin USD?
Yes.
5 to 8K?
So
that was just a question.
The problem that I have when people ask me questions like that, like long term, I do my technicals based on very, very short term patterns with the support of long term support and resistance. So when people ask me, like, where do you think Litecoin, Bitcoin, any of the coins are going in a few months, I can't really tell you because I don't do that kind of analysis. I keep all of my analysis very short term. But if I look at the daily here, I'll tell you what needs to happen for you to even think about that number. Obviously, Litecoin, doing analysis on Litecoin is almost worthless. I wouldn't say worthless, but it's almost worthless because it follows Bitcoin almost to the T. If I look at this chart here and then I go to Bitcoin here, it's almost the same exact pattern. So it follows Bitcoin almost perfectly. And that's what I tell everybody who asks me in my chat, what do I think about the other, like, Litecoin, Ethereum, those coins. I don't really do analysis on those coins. The only way that this is going to do something different from Litecoin or Ethereum is if there is specific news that comes out that only relates to Litecoin or Ethereum and it has no effect on Bitcoin whatsoever, which is very, very rare. But like, for example, if Litecoin came out with news that like bettered their personal blockchain, that would probably be something that you would see different on their chart, and it would kind of leave that tie of Bitcoin. But then that would only be for like a day or two, and then it would go back to following Bitcoin. So if you want to do analysis on Litecoin, I'd honestly just say do analysis on Bitcoin. It's going to follow Bitcoin 100%.
The next one was some CELT Kelt. ZRX District Talks. Is it looking bullish?
ZRX?
Yeah.
I'm guessing he's meaning in the short term. Let's take a look.
I think so, yeah.
Let me go to my other chart.
And let me know when you're ready. I got a couple more for you.
Did you guys see the article about the first securities transaction done on the blockchain?
I did not. And if you want my opinion on ZRX, you missed your trade.
Yeah.
Based on my strategy, which I'll go over later, it's a Bollinger Band CCI strategy, and you see here the Bollinger Band squeezes. You have that shaded in area that's signifying a squeeze, and then it broke the 100 line. This is your entry. Your entry is right here. So you already missed your trade. I don't trade stuff like this. We're already inside the breakout zone. We are coming out of the breakout zone. So what I mean by breakout zone is if we look at the CCI here, you see how it's lit up here? I have it lit up. That's when it's above the 100 line. This is the breakout. If we get back into the neutral zone, your breakout is over, and we're most likely going to fail. And we'll come back to this in like 10 minutes and see if I'm correct. But it looks like this is getting ready to fail. You're coming out of your breakout. Your breakout is heading into the neutral zone. You have inside bars here forming a top, and then you have down fractals. So you have two down fractals here, which I'll go over what fractals are in a minute. You have inside bars, and you're heading into the neutral zone on the CCI. You also have negative selling pressure, or sorry, you have a lot of selling pressure. So the sellers are beating the buyers. So we'll come back to this in about 10 minutes, but where I see this going is back to the 200. Look at the volume here. The volume is way below average. You already lost your peak. This is the peak of volume. You're well below the peak. And what you want to see, if this were to be a bull trend, if this were to continue, what you want to see is you want to see high volume on the green side, low volume on the red side, and then high volume on the green side. This trend is failing because this green volume is terrible. So the exact, just like a bull flag, you have a big green move, a small red move, and a big green move. And you need that high volume to break that high. So for example, this is your high. This is your consolidation. You need that high volume on the green side to break this high. So the only way this is going to break is if this volume comes in. So if this volume does not come in, ZRX, you missed your trade. If you would have taken that trade, let's see how much you would have made. I'm going to guess it's probably like 10% maybe. Let's see. A little far off, about 5.75, so not a bad trade. Typically, I look for 3%, so we would have probably gotten our 3% off this high here. Okay, we would have missed our 3%. We would have waited for it to come back down. It would have pushed higher, and then we would have sold probably about there, depending on my trailing stop. Let's see my trailing stop. Yeah, so my trail, if I would have held my trail, I would have sold here. If I wouldn't have held my trail, I would have sold here based on my 3%. My trail is a 3 EMA with the 2 offsets. So if you have, let me show you. You have just a normal 3 EMA, you offset it by 2 candles. And it acts as a very good trailing stop. Only for breakouts, so you want to use that on breakouts. You don't want to use that on reversal patterns or anything like that. So long story short, we're going to be heading down, I believe, to the 200. Look for another trade just like this. You want the Bollinger Band to squeeze. You want the CCI to break the 100 line. Another question?
Yeah, I got a whole bunch here. Hang on one second. Okay. So oh, that's the one. So what was the name of the book you mentioned at the start of the show? He was busy writing it down. Thanks in advance.
Oh, the book. Yeah, the book. It's very, very good for beginners. Getting Started in Candlestick Charting by Tina Logan.
There you go. And no, that's for me. Zenima, don't ask me questions because I'm a monkey throwing poop at a dartboard. You know that. But where do you see? So then, where do you see BTC right now? Are you expecting regression? Oh, Zenima, you're English, dude. What levels do you think we can gain based on the candles, if any?
So right now, you can see the levels that we're in between on Bitcoin. This is the 5-minute chart. We broke through this level. I think that's the long-term double bottom. Let's see. Yeah, that's the long-term double bottom line. So we just broke through this double bottom line here, and we cannot break this 8,600 level. We keep coming into break it, failing, coming, break, and failing. So we're just ranging here. This is a range. So we're not going to see a pattern until we either break this low here or we break this high. So all this price action I don't care about. I don't care about any of that price action. The only price action that I care about is if we break the upper level or the lower level. And that's what I'm talking about when I say you don't need all these indicators to trade. And that's going to hide my levels. You don't need all these indicators to trade Bitcoin. You could have known that this was going to range by just seeing these levels here. So this price action, I mean, if you're trading BitMEX on very high margin, then you'll care about this. But I do not care about small price action because I don't trade with leverage. My chat is really trying to push me to trade on BitMEX, and I probably will make a BitMEX account, but my max margin that I'll use is 5%. I'm not going over 5%.
That's what they all say.
No, I promise you, I will not go over 5%. I do not believe in margin. The only time I trade with leverage is if I'm trading penny stocks, and I will be using 4x. I won't be using anything higher than 4x. And I think from 3 to 5x, you can be very, very profitable. Anything over 5x, you're really just playing with fire. You're at that point, you're gambling.
0x.
0x, yeah, zero.
That's how we all started.
Yeah, I trade with no leverage, so leverage is not my thing.
This question came about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah,
at what point did you decide to short the level break? Was it on the candle close? I ask, as the previous test of the level pushed down through it but pulled back to close above. At what point do you decide to go in? When volume comes in?
Let's show you. Let me see.
I hate it when that happens. It breaks trend and then breaks back up, and then breaks back down, and then breaks back up.
So I took the trade right here. So I saw this 30-minute candle fail this level right here. So it broke this level. I waited for a small pullback because we're outside the Bollinger Band. I never trade outside the Bollinger Band. You can see Bitcoin respects its Bollinger Band 100%. It will always come back. It always respects the Bollinger Band. So I never trade outside the Bollinger Band on the upside or the downside. So this candle here broke the Bollinger Band. You could have waited for it to come back inside. It came back inside. You could have traded that. This one broke here. You could have waited for it to come back. It came back, and that's what I did. I waited for this candle to come back after the break, and I traded right here on this line. I think I put an order in almost exactly on the line. So I shorted it right there. And we took our profit 0.3% away from the low. So let's see. This low here, not this low. So we took our profit 0.3% away from that low. So we took it about right there. And that exactly why I took my profit is what I just said. Bitcoin always respects its Bollinger Band. So not just Bitcoin, almost everything. Let me hide the volume here. So if you're looking at the Bollinger Bands and you see this dip here, if you're in your head like, oh, it's going to keep going, it's going to keep going, it's going to break this level, it's not going to. It's way outside the Bollinger Band. It's going to pull back. So as soon as it started to push down, I waited for the price action, or the price to come back. So as soon as price started to come back, I took my trade out, 0.3% off the low. We made about 4.5% of our whole account on that trade, which was amazing. Our daily goal is usually about 2% of our account. So we doubled our daily goal on one easy trade.
The next one was last two candles seem to be forming the pattern you were talking about, which is about 9 minutes ago. I'm sorry. The red candle should confirm bearish movement, right?
What did it say? What ticker we were looking at?
We were looking at Bitcoin about 10 minutes ago.
And I think we were on the 5-minute. So like I was saying earlier, none of these candles matter to me. I don't see anything when I look at this. I don't care. All I care about is if it breaks this level or if it breaks this level. So I'm basically hiding all this from my brain. Obviously, you can scalp that, but seeing that I'm already holding Bitcoin, if it goes up, I'm already making money. If it goes down a little bit, I don't care. I'm holding it long term. Unless it breaks this level, then that's really bearish and I'm going to short it. But until it breaks that level, I don't care what it's doing, because if it goes up, I'm making money. If it goes down, it's probably going to come back as long as it doesn't break that level. We also have the 200 moving average to help that level. So if it comes down to that level, we probably will see a bounce. If it's very bearish, it probably will break anyway. But what we'll see is we'll probably see something like this if it's very bearish. It's probably not going to break on the first touch due to the 200 supporting it. The 200 EMA is the long-term support and resistance line. So when that supports levels like Fibonacci, VWAP, any of that stuff, you're going to see it's going to be very hard for price to break on the first touch.
Donkey Fury wants to know if you're streaming with your shirt off.
I'm not, but I told my chat I could probably stream naked today because I don't have a webcam. So, and I told my chat it'd be the first day you guys stream with webcams. Would be the day I hop on.
We have to preface this is not fashion advice.
Yeah.
Blue Moon, thanks. He just likes your style, simple concepts.
Thank you.
Harlem Hooligan, where do you see VEN going the next 2 weeks?
VEN, let's take a look. So once again, like I was saying earlier, I don't usually do analysis for that long term, but I will take a look at the daily. VEN, we had a perfect trade on this as well. We traded this on a bounce out of the buy zone. I'll go over that in a little bit, my buy zone strategy. So we had a bounce out of the buy zone, and we had a cup and handle. This was on the 30-minute, I believe. Let me look at the 30-minute. Yes, so on the 30-minute, you see this big cup and handle here. Cup, you had that small handle right here. Let me zoom in. Sorry if I give you guys epilepsy or something. I move my charts around a lot. So we have a big cup here. Here's the handle. And then we broke this level here. And we shot higher. I took my profit on this move here. So I could have held it for a little bit longer. But I like very, very short-term trading. So I take my profit as soon as it gets to my targets. So I took my profit here. This is actually a perfect buy candle on my indicator. Or this is an indicator created by my community for my strategy. It gives you a perfect buy candle right here. And then you have that move upward. Same exact thing happened. Let me hide everything. The same exact thing happened that I was telling you about on, I think it was Bitcoin. Here's your buy candle. This is the buy candle because you have the Bollinger Band squeeze. You have the break of the 100 line. So Bollinger Band squeeze, break of the 100 line. You're in a breakout. You're still in a breakout. Here, your breakout failed. So once you re-enter the neutral zone, your breakout is over. So this would have indicated your breakout is over. Look to exit your position if you're still holding. And you can see right here, that's where the price action started to fail. So let's go over, let me look at it in 2 weeks. Sorry, I kind of got locked in this trade. You want to see 2 weeks. Let's take a look. So VN, I can't really look at on the daily. Let me see. Oh, hold on, I'll zoom in. So we bounced out of the buy zone. That's the first good sign that we're finding a bottom. So we bounced out of the buy zone. My buy zone is from the 618 to the 50. All I do is I draw a simple Fibonacci from low to high. I take the low before the high. So you have, let me pull up the volume. So this is where the volume started to surge. You started to have that big surge in volume. So what I look for is the low that created the high based on volume and price action. So based on volume and price action, I found the low to be right down here. And then the high is obviously the top of the wick. And my buy zone is from the 618 to the 50, because that's where you're going to see most of your bounces. The 618, obviously you guys have done a lot of research on in this channel. You guys do a lot of Elliott Wave. I'm not an Elliott Wave trader, so
it's a psychological level.
Exactly. Yeah,
but it's real.
It's not just a psychological number. It's actually a natural number, because the Fibonacci is it's natural. It's in everything almost.
Actually, you're in a perfect time frame, because Zen was asking like how one can look at a chart and just look at candles and volume and pick where to put in. So
where to put a buy? Yeah. So let me go to let's go to an empty chart so I don't have all my stuff here.
So I just posted a link. I made all of my trades today off of that, and I made 60%. Every single trade I made was based off of that alone.
What for the Fibonacci?
No, just I just posted a link in the chat.
Who are you?
Uncle Scroat.
Oh, You made all your trades based on what? I see the link. Oh, that line, that price line?
Well, just the chart itself. I start at the 12-hour. I look at the volume and candles, the whole thing, and then kind of place rough levels.
And that's a perfect picture because you can see in that picture that the volume is increasing with the uptrend. It's decreasing with the downtrend, and then it comes back in and increases with the uptrend. So that is a perfect.
You don't have to draw fibs. You don't have to draw
exactly
wedges. You don't have to draw lines. It's right there.
So someone in chat said 50 is not a prime number. You are correct. The 50 is not based on the Fibonacci. So when you use a Fibonacci tool, let me pull up the tool.
It's the fake fib.
It's based on Dow theory. It's not based on Fibonacci. It's based on the theory. I don't think it's Dow theory. I think it is Dow. It's based on the market theory that most bullish moves, most uptrends will retrace at least 50% before heading higher. And so when you put a zone in between the 50 and the 618, that's where you're going to see most of your bounces. If it's a strong bullish trend, you will see most of your bounces out of that zone. So I created a strategy solely based on a Fibonacci tool. You can hide everything else on your chart. Let me add a new chart here. Here we go. So Bitcoin respected its Fibonacci many, many times. If you go back and test the Fibonacci on these lows, let me go to log. If you test the Fibonacci on these lows, it respects it a lot. Let's check the Fibonacci right here.
Like they're all those tools are there. It's just to confirm what you already figured out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Trend and momentum.
So if we grab this low here, let's see if it respects the wick or not. Yeah, so it does respect the wick. So sometimes you have to draw it from the candle body instead of the wick. This one respects the wick. So if we just take the low of, what is that, 3,000 and draw it to the high, we could have seen this buy zone right here. Let me draw my buy zone. So you draw the buy zone after the high. So you draw it from here to here. This is your buy zone. And you use this to trade the first or second bounces. Anything after the second bounce is really, it's weak at that point. If you're not bouncing out of the buy zone in the first or second try, you're most likely going to break the 618. And that's exactly what we saw here. So this is your first test. It respects the 618 almost to the number. It's probably off by, let's see. It's off by $200. Being off by $200 on long-term Bitcoin, that's insane. That's a good trade. So if you would have put your order in at the buy zone, this is the safe buy. If you put your order on the 618, that's your safe buy. If you put your order on the 50, that's your aggressive buy. And if you put your order in the middle, that's obviously just like your passive buy. So if you would put your order in any of these levels, it would have been a good trade. You see how it bounced out? That's your first touch. So you have the first touch of the buy zone on these candles. You bounced out. Here's your second touch after this low, or sorry, after this high. There's another good trade. But then your third touch, like I said, anything after the first and second touch, this is going to be a failure typically. If you get back to the 618 without bouncing after your second touch, you're most likely going to fail. So once I saw this price action, if I was trading this, I would have gotten out because that is a failure incoming. And you can see it almost respected the 786, I believe. Yeah, 786. It almost respected the 786 to the T as well. You missed it by a few $100s. We never closed below it though. So you never closed below that level. You rejected the 50 twice here. So if you're looking at just the Fibonacci, you see it respected the 786. We came up. Look at where we bounced. We bounced almost perfectly off the 50%. The 50% and the 618, like I said, are the strongest levels on the Fibonacci. So we came up, hit the 50. We never closed above it. Failed. Where did we bounce? We bounced right off the 618. Where did we head? Right to the 50 again. Bounced off the 50 again and broke the 618. And then look what we did. We popped back up. We hit the 618 again, and now we're failing.
Sorry, I've got to get the phone for a minute so someone else can take questions.
So it's
I
respecting
guess-
these levels 100%. Go ahead.
Did Bitfinex, did they ever had a USD tender pair?
I'm not sure. Let me see.
No, right now doesn't. I can't seem to see it, but they used to have it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That would be anyone in chat. Do you guys know? Did Bitfinex have a USDT? And please, guys, in chat, if you guys don't understand anything that I'm going over, please feel free to let me know. Hey, I don't understand. Can you re-go over that? Or if I'm drawing something on the chart that you don't understand, just let me know to slow down and go over it again. Because I strive for the education standpoint on trading. I'm not trying to be the best trader on Twitch. What I hope to do is educate new traders to be profitable. So please, if you don't understand anything, let me know. And I like seeing my emote being spammed. You guys are awesome, man. I like seeing the familiar faces. What's going on, Ghetto? How does it work on a bull trend? How does what work on a bull trend? Which Bollinger Band and CCI are you using? So I am using custom indicators created by my community, but I'm using, I think you're asking for my settings. And my settings are 12 Bollinger Band and a 50 CCI. So I like using a long-term CCI on a short-term chart. So when I'm trading like a 5-minute, I'll show you exactly what I'm looking for. Mana did it perfectly today. So right here on Mana, this gave you a perfect buy candle. If you're looking at this indicator, we have a Bollinger Band squeeze. We wait for the break of the 100 line. It breaks the 100 line. It gives you this buy candle. And look what it did. Massive uptrend here. That's a 13% move that you could have easily predicted by just understanding Bollinger Bands and understanding my CCI. How do I replicate this lines and volume, etc. on the chart? I'm not sure which lines you're talking about, but I think you're talking about the Fibonacci tool. So if you're on TradingView, you just go down to the third box here on the left, and it's the Fibonacci retracement. So what you want to do is you want to look for a surge. So we have a surge here. You want to find the low that created the surge. So this was the low that created it. So you just zoom in, you look for the price, that was the low, which was about here. You draw it to the high, which is right there. And then that is, we also had a perfect buy zone test that I was just teaching you guys. Look at this. So you take your buy zone from the high, you draw it to wherever you want to draw it. So here's your buy zone. Look at this perfect test of the buy zone. You almost had your first test there. Here's your first real test, and you surged up for another probably 10%. Let's see. Yeah, another 13%. So these are almost perfect measured moves. Yeah, 13.5 to 13%. You could have taken both of these trades based on the very simple strategies that I use. Your first trade was the CCI breakout, but you have the Bollinger Band squeeze, you have the CCI breakout. You exit your trade when the breakout is over, or based on a profit target, or based on a trailing stop. So if you would have exited on a profit target, you would have exited somewhere in here. A trailing stop probably would have stopped you somewhere around here. Oh, this is a perfect dragonfly candle. I'll go over that candle in a second. If you would have exited based on the neutral zone, you would have exited right here, I believe. So this would have faked you out a little bit. So that dragonfly candle that I was just talking about, let me show you. This is a picture perfect dragonfly. If you don't know what a dragonfly is, it's when you have a downtrend and then you have a candle start to form a bearish candle. But then when it closes with a very long bottom wick and a small head. It looks like a dragonfly. A dragonfly has a small head and a long body. And then you have a green candle to confirm. So if you don't like getting in on the dragonfly, wait for the green candle to confirm. You could have seen that this candle was turning green. You could have taken the trade. Your stop loss is below the dragonfly. So you take the trade right around here. When you break the high, your stop loss is below the body. And your target is either the high, the previous high, or your target is a certain percentage. But yeah, look at this. You have this perfect buy zone test. So you just draw a simple Fibonacci. So if you, let me pull this up on a blank chart and you'll see what I'm talking about. So if you look at this on a blank chart, it's a very clear retracement. It's very, very clear. You see the inside bars here. You take your, let me get off log. You take your low. You draw it to your high. I grabbed the wrong low, I think. Here we go. Or sorry, that's the other high. We draw it to this high. So you take your low. You draw it to your high, which is right here. And then you have your buy zone right here. So if you're a person who most of your losses are due to you FOMOing, use this simple strategy and you will not FOMO. When you see, like if, for example, let me delete this. For example, if you were looking at this chart and you saw like this here, and you're like, oh my God, man, I missed mana by like an hour. If I would have just gotten in mana now, I would have made tons of money. All you have to do is take a Fibonacci, draw it from the low to the high, and just wait. Just sit here and wait. And you just watch the price until it gets to your buy zone. And then boom, we had that buy zone test right there. So all you have to do is set an alert. Take an alert and set it on the 50. So that will alert you if anything crosses the 50 into the buy zone. You want to pay attention to this. I'm not sure if you would have got that because that was a very, very quick touch. You could have got in on this candle though. So if you would have missed the buy zone, you could have got in on the next candle. And then you have, oops. And then you have that strong move up. The same thing goes for this. Let's pull our Fibonacci. So if we take our Fibonacci from the high to the low that created the high, we almost see another buy zone test here. This one failed though. So your buy zone would be from the high candle. So right here. That's your buy zone. So this broke the buy zone. So this was a little weak. What you could have done though is you could have kept an eye on this. If you would have put your order in here, which you typically will do, this one would have actually been a losing trade and this would have actually pissed you off because it would have stopped you out and then it would have went your direction almost instantly. Because what I do is, let me fix my buy zone. What I do is I take the trade based on the middle of the buy zone, typically, or I'll get somewhere closer to the low. I don't usually get it on the 50. I usually wait for closer to the 618. So I'll put in my trade, and then I'll put my stop below the 618, pretty close. So I put my stop probably around like there. So I would have got stopped out, and then it would have went the way I would have wanted to almost instantly. So this would have been a trade that would have driven you insane. If you had a farther stop like the 786, you wouldn't have got stopped out. But then you're risking a lot more than I typically like to risk. You would have been risking, yeah, 2.6. I don't risk anywhere near to that. I like to think that I'm like a sniper when I'm trading. If I missed the trade by 1%, then I lost that trade. Let me pull up. I'm not sure if I can pull it up. I probably can't pull it up on the TeamViewer. But my spreadsheet, it will show, I track all my trades. And my biggest loss until 2 days ago when I tried to short Bitcoin at the low, which is a terrible trade. My biggest loss for the month was 0.98%. And I'm up about 10% this month. I think about 7.5. I don't take big losses. Obviously, what I told you guys at the beginning of the stream, when I took that big loss on Ripple, I went from being up almost $3,000-$4,000 on Ripple to not taking any of that profit. And now I don't take any losses. I don't hold my winners. I don't take any losses. And so far it's working out. I was up 10% in February. I'm up about 7.5 to 10% right now. And the problem with that is I get in trades. I'm notorious for getting in trades about 5 to 10 minutes early and getting stopped out and then it going the exact way that I wanted it to go. So obviously if I just push my stop out a little bit, I'd probably be a little more profitable trader. But right now I respect my ratios. I think I have about a 4.5 risk to reward ratio and about a 70% win rate. And those ratios you guys really need to know. So if you're a new trader and you're just now getting started, you need to track your trades. You need to understand.
Taught you that lesson?
What was that?
Would you say Ripple taught you that?
I'm sorry, you cut out.
Hey, Ripple taught you that lesson?
Oh no, I did that way before Ripple, but I should have did it for Ripple.
No, I'm not. But because you say, I hold no winners, I don't take any losses, but yet held on to XRP as it plummeted.
It got me, man. I got stuck. I got stuck in that euphoria phase.
It took Barack 6 weeks to talk me out of ADA.
Yep.
I'm not one to talk.
No, I tell my chat all the time. It's my worst trade of all time. Ripple
I'm
is
slightly late to this, but can you go over CCI again?
Yeah, like how I use my CCI.
Yeah, because I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, I'll go over it. Give me like 1 minute.
Just a short rundown.
Yeah, definitely. What I tell my chat is the Ripple trade was my best and worst trade of all time in the same trade.
Yeah.
I bought Ripple at 50 cents.
We thought we were so good.
With like $1,500. So I bought a lot of Ripple. And I watched it go all the way up. And then I never sold it and I watched it go all the way down. But this, like I tell my chat, I think the value that I got from losing that trade is much greater than the dollar value that I would have gained from selling it. What was that?
Crypto lessons are hard lessons.
Yeah. And I honestly believe that the money that I'm going to earn in my future with that knowledge that I gained from that shitty trade is much greater than the value that I would have gained from selling my Ripple. Because I'm almost emotionless now when I trade. I don't try to have any emotion. I do it all based on my strategy. If it doesn't fit my strategy, I don't trade it. And a perfect example of that is if you guys are OG viewers on my channel, we took a trade on VIB. Let me see if I can pull it up on chat. And I'll go over the CCI. I didn't forget about you.
I'm just going to ask this one because maybe someone else might have it while you're looking that up. Dricken wants to know if there's any good spreadsheets out there that you use to track.
I created my own spreadsheet. So if you, I can't post it in here.
Oh, it's a setup.
This is the way to shill my channel, I guess. I can send you the link. If you go into my channel, actually, I'm not sure if the commands work when I'm not live.
Can you post link on channel?
If you go into my channel, type !trades, and it will show you my spreadsheet.
Could you link your channel in the chat, actually? Because there's a few people asking what your channel is.
Let me grab it.
Hey, can you have a quick look at PPT on the 1 hour?
Yeah, for sure. Give me 1 second. Here you go.
What percentage of your bankroll do you invest in any one trade? I mean, are you going all
very small? I usually, or not very small. I do about 25%. So that's actually pretty big compared to other people. Yeah.
Yeah. Most people most day traders, swing traders, even scalpers, 5%, maybe even 10%.
Yeah, it really depends on how much of my criteria the trade hits. If it hits my basic entry criteria, it's 25%. If it hits everything on my list, I'd do 100%. It's very rare that I do 100%. I think I've done 100% maybe less than 5 times. And almost all of them are winners. So we've been doing pretty good on those.
When do you know when to take your profit? Is it based on a fib level, candle shapes or patterns, or is it otherwise?
My profit, I've got 3 different ways that I do it. I do it based on a 3% is what I usually look for. So here, I'll go over the basics. Here, I'll look at a chart. Let me do the CCI first, and then I'll go over exactly how I would take a trade. So here is.
By the way, Twitch, what do you think? DejaBrew doing a good job?
Yes,
Yep.
sir. Appreciate
Remember, I can
that.
read chat, so you have to say yes.
Well, I was here like 5 minutes, and from what I heard, very interesting strategy.
Thank you, man. Yeah, you can see here my strategy. This Gyro's in chat, I believe. Gyro, he coded this indicator based on my strategy, and it works perfectly. Because this is the candle that I would have bought on. So he made the indicator show you that this is the candle that I would have bought on, and it's perfect.
CoinSteam,
see it.
thank you for Trump sub.
I would have bought there, and boom, went up. I'm not sure. Can someone go test it in my channel? If you type in !trades, I'm not sure if the commands work when I'm not live. But
Gunnar
if it
says
works,
it sounds
that's
like a
my
Ripple
Excel
story.
sheet. What is?
This is a Ripple story.
So the CCI, the way I use it, this is another indicator that I had customized by one of my viewers. Let me pull it down. So the way I use it is, I use a 50. So I use a long-term CCI on a short-term chart. I usually trade a 5-minute, and I use a long-term CCI based on 50. The reason I use 50 is when I trade long-term, I like using 4-hour candles. So I wanted a CCI that would reflect the last 4 hours of a chart. And a CCI of 50 on a 5-minute reflects the last 4 hours. And the way I use it is, if we are over the 0 line, this is the neutral zone. So anything in between these is neutral. But obviously, if we're uptrending in the neutral zone. Obviously, if we're downtrending, we're downtrending. And I use it for divergences as well. So you can see if you're in the neutral zone and you're uptrending, but the price is sideways. Here's a perfect example. Let me close this. Also, when I'm using CCI, I make it very, very small, because you can see here when I make it big, it's very choppy. So if you make the window really small, it cuts out that chop, because I don't care about the chop. I just care about the trend. So here's a perfect example of divergence. You have a sideways Bollinger Band squeeze, but then look at what the CCI starts to do. The CCI starts to uptrend here. And then we head towards the 100 line. This is exactly what I look for. A break of the 100 line is what I consider a breakout. If you're above the 100 line, you're breaking out bullishly. If you're below the negative 100, you're breaking out bearishly. So you can see how I have it made where if it's in the neutral zone, it's dark. If it's outside the neutral zone, it's lit up. And so this is a breakout here. So you have a breakout. You have a test of the 100 line. You're still breaking out. You're still breaking out. And then you re-enter the neutral. And that is when your breakout has failed. Your breakout has now failed. So you would have exited your trade around this area if you were still in it. So around these candles here, you would have exited. You would have looked to get back in on the buy zone. So if you're trading a buy zone strategy, you have a failure of the CCI back into the neutral zone, and then you have the test of the buy zone right here. And then look what we see here. We see a bounce out of the buy zone. We see a break of the CCI. So now you're in a new breakout. This is your second breakout. So you have a breakout here. You test. You're still breaking out. And then you fail to break out here. So you would have exited the trade here. And look at all the losses it would have protected you from. It would have protected you from all those losses. So long story short, if we are above the 100 line, we're breaking out. If we're below the negative 100, we're breaking out on the downside. And then just use it based on divergence. So if you're seeing a squeeze, if you're seeing a sideways squeeze, if your CCI is uptrending, that is a very strong sign that you are going to have a breakout to the upside. The opposite is true. If you're seeing price action sideways and you see your CCI diverging downward, that is a strong sign you're going to break out downward. And that is the perfect reason why I pair it with a Bollinger Band, because this is perfect right here. Not too perfect. Let me see if I can find a nicer one. Here's a nice one on the downside. So you have a CCI failing, so you're heading down, but your price is sideways. So this is letting you know the price is getting ready to fail. What were you saying?
8600 test.
What's that?
8600 test.
8600 on Bitcoin. We are
you're
moving
talking
up.
about Bitcoin. Let me see.
While you look that up, Ghetto Crypto wants to ask, and I think this is set up. because we all have an elephantitis-sized bag of TRX. Hey, do you like TRX long term?
I do not, actually, and he knows that because he's one of my viewers.
I figured as much.
I am not a Tron believer.
And he has an elephantitis-sized bag of TRX, doesn't he?
He probably does. Probably. He's probably trying to shill it.
It's Justin's son, isn't it?
But yeah, this is getting ready to test 8600. I'm looking at Tether. We are having a breakout here. Here's the buy candle coming in. This is a little late of a buy candle. I typically like my buy candles to be before the Bollinger Band starts to expand. So this is a little late of a buy candle. It's giving you the buy candle because the CCI is getting ready to break out.
This is the second touch, by the way.
Second touch
That
of
doesn't matter.
8600.
Yeah, we wicked up before.
Yeah, you're right. Right here. This is the first touch. You are correct. We're outside the Bollinger Band. Look what it does. Every time it comes outside the Bollinger Band, it comes back. So what I tell people, if you want to get in on the outside of the Bollinger Band, just wait a little bit, and you'll have a better price. Like I said earlier, though, this does not. I don't care. If this comes up and hits this, then obviously you could short it. You could take a short here. Your target could be either the 200 or the 8300 line. What kind of percentage is that? That is about a 3%. So that's actually not a bad trade. If we fail this level here, if we start to bounce off of it, that could be a decent trade. You can see based on my indicators here, this is the Bill Williams AC. So if you type in indicators.
Who is that?
You don't know who Bill Williams is?
No.
Look Bill Williams up, man. He'll blow your mind. He's a very old school trader. He's pretty old now. He's my favorite trader of all time.
Actually, do you know? I just want you to say that for the crowd.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, he designs
awesome oscillator, right?
What was that?
Bill Williams awesome oscillator.
Yes, the awesome oscillator, but it's the AC because he has two indicators. He has the awesome oscillator AC, and then he has the awesome oscillator AO. The AO is in built-ins. So if you go to built-ins, you have the, where is it? Awesome oscillator right here. That's the Bill Williams awesome oscillator.
I passed that on to the 1 to 5 scalping channel like 2.5 months ago. We used it for a while.
I'm telling you, man. Bill Williams is a mastermind. I have it set up on my momentum. Here's my momentum window. So I have the AC here, the AO here, and then a market bottom finder here. And then I also use volume profile, VWAP. I'm a big fan of VWAP. VWAP is one of my favorite things to trade.
The volume profile and the VWAP is
it's amazing. Yeah, you can trade a strategy based solely on volume profile and VWAP, nothing else, and you can make money. It's a little more complicated of a strategy, but if you master it, you can definitely make money. I follow a guy who does nothing but volume weighted average price and volume profile when he trades futures contracts, and he's insane. He barely loses trades.
The BPPR is incredible.
Which one?
The BPPR, the volume bars.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Your friend Ghetto wants to know, serious question now. Can you explain market bottoms and how to use it effectively with BBs? So you said this went up, didn't you?
The market bottom, market bottom bars I don't use with Bollinger Bands, and I can't really explain how he designed this indicator because I still don't really know. It's based on volatility. I know that, and this is the indicator that we're talking about, guys. If you go to Public Library, it's the second one here. CM Williams VIX Fix finds market bottoms. It's actually an amazing indicator. If we go to what he says, it's based on volatility. It's based on the VIX, how the VIX works for stocks, but it's designed to work with all asset classes. So you can use it for crypto, you can use it for futures, you can use it for really anything. And I'll tell you exactly how I trade it. I don't trade it with Bollinger Bands though. Let me go to my bottom screen. Sorry, I have a lot of windows. This is my market bottom finder. So I look for volume to be below VWAP. I look for a big surge in these volume candles. So right here, it finds this bottom perfectly. So this is exactly what I look for. We have price well below VWAP. VWAP is this green to red line. So price is well below VWAP. We have a market bottom being indicated. We have the stochastics leveling out on the downside. Your entry is when the stochastics re-enters the neutral on a gray bar. So your entry would have been this candle right here. So based on my market bottom strategy, I just messed that up, hold on. So based on the market bottom strategy, your entry would have been one of these two candles here. And your target would have been VWAP. So you would have made your target right there. If VWAP is very, very close to your entry, then your target can be the 200 EMA. So this could have been your target, or this could have been your target. You hit both of them. So that would have been a good trade either way.
Sorry, I thought you might have got this question when I was on the phone, so I deleted it from my notes and Red's asking why you haven't got to it yet. He just wants your opinion on OMG, short-term and long-term.
So OMG short-term just failed a market bottom, which is very weak. Or actually, this wasn't a market bottom because we were above VWAP, so never mind on that. Let me take a look at my Bollinger Band. Oh, Bollinger Band is getting very, very tight here. Bollinger Band is very, very tight. We just came off a breakout. This is actually a very unusual pattern. You don't see this very often. So based on my strategy, you have a Bollinger Band squeeze. You look for the break of the 100 line. What we see happen here is it breaks the negative 100 line, fails, but then instantly bottom reverses. You typically do not see that happen. And these buy candles, these you don't want to use as buy candles because you already had your breakout. So if you use this indicator, you don't want to use those as buy candles. They still come up because there's no way to kind of get those to not come up with our strategy. So short term, I'm seeing buyers start to beat the sellers, so the acceleration is winning. The acceleration is coming off a down, breaking the midline. So that is usually a good sign that we're going to see some buying pressure come in. I'm also seeing a re-entry of the neutral zone from a negative breakout. So we saw a negative breakout here. We broke below the 200, and now we're re-entering the neutral zone. The only problem with OMG is none of these indicators matter because volume is so low. Volume is you need volume to validate your indicators. If you have amazing indicators, they're all hitting your signals, but you have very low volume, that means nothing. Because that's basically showing you that you're hitting your indicators with very little buyers and very little sellers. So almost nobody is watching the coin that you're looking at, and you're basing your entry off of these indicators. So the first thing you need to look at is volume. And right now our volume is very, very low. So we're below the 200. Our volume is very low. If we see volume start to break out above average, and this starts to come up here, the CCI starts to head higher, you have a squeeze. So the squeeze is beautiful. Your target would be, I'm not sure where I got these lines from. I think these were longer term lines. But your target would be 3% or based on a trailing stop. And then he said long term as well. I'll take a look. Let me delete everything.
What's the indicator you're using that's marking the Bollinger Band breaks?
Do you mean this one, the one that's coming up purple?
I'm assuming so. That's someone's asking. What's the indicator called that you're using to mark the Bollinger Band breaks?
Okay, so this Bollinger Band is actually created by one of my community members, and it's not public on TradingView. So I can't send that one out. I'm sorry.
All right. We have a few stickers too. Have you tried the Blue Sky Day indicator?
The Blue Sky what?
Blue Sky Day.
I have not, no.
Blue Sky, one word, and then day.
I could take a look at it, but I never heard of it.
I think he's a smart one. He'd only ask it if it had a point.
Blue Sky. So okay, there's two. Are you looking at the strategy or are you looking at the alert?
Who was it? It was one of our mods too.
Maniac. He's I think somebody answered. Yeah, I'm using a 50 CCI, and it's a custom one created by my community.
No, it wasn't the CCI. It was that indicator. The blue
No, I was
sky.
talking to Maniac. Sorry.
Oh, okay. You brought all the trolls with you, didn't you?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Ooh. Actually, that's a good question. If you could only use one indicator, what would it be?
Well, I'm gonna assume that you're not meaning like price action, support, and resistance, like that kind of stuff. But if I could only use one thing, I would just base my chart off of like this. I would just trade like this, just charts and or volume. So if I don't think that's the kind of answer that you want.
No, it is. It is.
I will go over.
I know where he's going with this one.
This is exactly how I would trade, though.
Dope trades based on volume, momentum, and trend.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it.
Yeah, it's price action, volume, and trend analysis. That's all you need. Indicators are just helping you distinguish trends from each other, and it's hard to explain, but it helps distinguish the differences in price action, I guess. But yeah, price action, volume, trend analysis. Me and Dope, probably the only thing we agree on.
Oh.
me and him we butt heads a lot.
Price action, volume, and what?
Trend analysis.
Looks like Bitcoin's doing a hanging man on the 3 hour.
Let's take a look.
Oh, that's right. We didn't get to the blue sky, Harlow. I'm sorry.
So I don't see. Are you looking at? Let me see.
Yeah, it's Harlem.
Whatever the last three candles.
No, these aren't hangmans here. So you're mistaking this for a hangman. A hangman is the opposite. A hangman is when you have a long bottom wick and then a small head. And it's not a hangman unless it's at the top of a trend. So it looks like a hammer. And I completely got off topic. We didn't finish going over the candles. But this is a hammer. This would be an inverted hammer. And an inverted hammer at the top of a trend is a gravestone. A regular hammer at the top of a trend is a hanging man. A regular hammer at the bottom of a trend is a dragonfly. A hammer like this at the bottom of a trend is, what is that one actually called? I don't think it's a shooting star. This one's very rare at the bottom of a trend. The name escapes me on that one. But this is a morning star right here. We have a perfect morning star. You also have more than 3 candlestick patterns. Let me show you. You have like the bullish and bearish towers, where you have like a bullish candle. That was a terrible candle. You have a bullish candle, and then you have like small dojis up here. And then you have a bearish tower or bearish candle. That is a bearish tower. And the opposite is a bullish tower. When you have,
imagine with that square off.
When you have a candle, and then you have the doji, and then you have another candle. That's a bullish tower. And also, I was going to go over what fractals were. If you guys don't,
how many hit points does that tower have?
What was that?
How many hit points does that tower have?
What do you mean by hit points? How many entries?
Exactly what I mean. No, just hit points.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Moving on. Chat got it.
Is this a gaming joke?
Yes, it was.
Did it go over my head? I'm sorry. You can't hit me with stuff like that, man. I'm focused. But yeah, so okay. I'm going to try to make this less confusing, but I call the fractals the opposite of what they're supposed to be called. So this, well, first, this is a fractal. A fractal is when you have, God damn it. A fractal is when you have, my chart keeps moving. When you have a 5 candlestick pattern like that. So you have a high, oh, all right, hold on, I got to do something. It keeps moving. Sorry, okay. It's when you have a high candle and then 2 low candles on each side. This is it's called an up fractal, but I call it a down fractal. because the way I look at it is price is coming down. You have price moving up and then price coming down. So I call this a down fractal, but it's actually called an up fractal. You have an up fractal right here. You have a down fractal right here. You have another down fractal. You have an up fractal. And I'll show you exactly how you can see these. You go to indicators. Oh, hold on, built-ins. Scroll all the way down, and it's Williams fractals. So, like I said, that one's a fractal. There's a fractal. They're everywhere. So you have this would be an up fractal. I call it a down fractal. This would be a down fractal. I call this an up fractal. It's when a candle has a high or a low, so a high and then a low, that is lower than the two next candles and the two previous candles. Same thing goes for this one. The high is higher than these two candles and these two candles.
Those little arrows you've got on the top of those candles, is that...
Those are fractals.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what is it telling?
Yeah.
Those are telling you where the fractals are. And you can trade fractals many different ways.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can trade fractals many different ways. One of the simplest ways to trade it is a fractal breakout strategy, where you have, this would be, let me find where, it doesn't really work because this is downtrending, obviously. Okay, we have consolidation here.
I really just say it to spark conversation, because we love fractals.
No, I got you, yeah.
Personally, myself, not a fan, but I'm just, for the audience, trying to...
This is how I trade fractals. It's one of the simpler setups. And it's kind of a mix of what Bill Williams teaches and kind of the stuff that I threw on there. But this is your up fractal, and then you have your signal fractal. So your signal fractal is a fractal in the opposite direction within a few bars of your first fractal. So you have your up fractal, your signal fractal, and you trade a break of your signal fractal. So you would have taken an entry right here when it broke the high of this candle. The same is true on the downside. You would have taken a short if you break the low of your entry fractal or your initial fractal. So you have your first fractal, the fractal within a few bars of the opposite kind becomes your signal, and this becomes your entry.
So, question.
Yep.
Could you not spot that without it? Like, could you not just back it up, like pull
Oh
out,
no, yeah, you could literally do that same strategy
cool.
without fractals. Yeah.
Cool.
You could take the fractals off, and the way the strategy is working is it's basically saying you're trading a breakout of this high or you're trading a breakout of this low. That's all it's saying.
Cool.
So you don't need fractals. You can just look at a flagging pattern and then look at the high, look at the low, and trade the break.
Oh, someone had a question. I'm sorry, I have to get back to it. Yes, the blue sky strategy. Because we...
Yeah, which one was he? Which one was he? Oh, the strategy one.
The blue sky strategy.
Okay, so first things first, I never use any of these strategies in TradingView.
Yeah, I think it's that, but because you have a vast knowledge of actual TA and what the flags and the candles mean and what trend means, using that strategy, how that may apply.
Yeah, I'll go over it. I was just saying. Okay, so first thing is I don't even think it's working. Does this have to be on a short term or something? Oh, there we go.
Got it. No, not you.
I think it has to be on a short term. It says it has a...
It says 90%, like right in the title.
Yeah, this is exactly why I don't use strategies based on... this is why I don't use strategies based on trading, you guys. You have to be very careful. These strategies lie to you.
They do.
What we've seen happen live. We've actually gone over this live on my channel. This will say this is your entry, but it will actually change the candle. Yeah. So it will say this is where we entered. Oh, right here, and this is where we exited. But
it's basics. It's basics.
It's not actually that's not actually where it entered. Every time it develops a new bar, it will change these. Sometimes they'll stay the same, but if you look at this today and you write down all these entries and exits, and you go back to it a week later, I guarantee you the entries and exits are going to be different. And that is very, very messed up when you're telling people you have a 95% profitability, but you're skewing your data. Your data is completely skewed. I think I'm actually going over my time.
What is that indicator actually telling?
Whoever is coming on after me, if I'm going over and you want me to exit, just please.
No, don't worry, dude. Keep going.
All right.
Yeah, you're fine, man.
What'd you ask?
Hooligan really wants to know if the blue sky indicator is any good, I think.
If you want my personal opinion, man, you don't want to use these strategies. You want to build your own strategy from ground up because you want to understand exactly how it works. You want to understand exactly how it's entering, how it's exiting. You want to track your trades just like I told you before, with an Excel sheet or any kind of tracking. And you want to find your profitability. So you want to find your risk reward, and you want to find your win rate. Obviously, if you have a higher risk reward, you can have a lower win rate. But if you have a low risk reward, you need a higher win rate. Let me pull it up. I made a chart.
So for an absolute beginner, what would be the bare bones, absolutely essential fundamentals that the beginner should take away from?
Everything in that book that I mentioned earlier, the getting started candlestick charting. So you need to understand candlestick charting, one. You need to understand trend analysis, and you need to understand support and resistance. If you don't understand those three things to a T, 100%, no indicator is going to help you. And I don't get any money from you guys buying that book. I'm not trying to shill the book so I get.
Then why did I send you to Litecoin?
What was that?
Why did I send you to Litecoin? I'm just kidding.
I still didn't catch you. All I heard was Litecoin.
Why did I send you to Litecoin?
Oh, I'm not sure. Let me get this horrible strategy off my screen. Yeah, don't use the strategies in TradingView. The only strategy here, I take that back. The only strategy that I use is this one here. And this, we modified this. So we took the slingshot strategy. So if you go to public library, I think it's this one here, the CM slingshot by Chris Moody. It has 8,700 likes. We took this strategy and we tweaked it a little bit. So we tweaked it based on my CCI, and I'm not sure what else we tweaked it on. I can't remember, but you want to use this on like a 15-minute or a 30-minute. And let's go to Bitcoin here. So here you go. Here's your sell candle. You have a sell candle right here where your cloud, it's almost like a cloud. It's like an EMA cloud. It's not the Ichimoku cloud. It's almost like an EMA cloud. And it's based on a 63, I believe. 62. So it's based on a 62 moving average. So when you see the cloud turn from green to red and your CCI is at a certain level, it will give you a sell candle. So here's your sell candle. And then you see this massive move downward. And now your cloud is getting smaller and smaller. You're starting to get a consolidation here. You're starting to get the flip. Here's the flip of the cloud. It flipped from red to green on this big strength candle here. So you could have gotten in anywhere on this candle where the cloud was turned to green. This one didn't give you a buy signal because the CCI wasn't at a certain point that we looked for. And I also think it didn't give you a buy signal. Oh, that's why, because it doesn't actually flip green on the buy and sell signal until here, but it flips green on the EMA back here. So it's two contradicting strategies. But yeah, this is the only strategy that I use on TradingView is the slingshot. What did you change on the inputs for the indicator? I think you're asking about the slingshot, and let's see. This is actually created by someone in my community, so I can't tell you exactly what they changed because I'm not actually sure. I think we changed the slow EMA to a 62, and then we added CCI values. So this isn't actually in the regular indicator. This is only in the custom one. The CCI is 50, that's correct. And to go over that strategy for anyone who's just coming in. Oh yeah, I was gonna show you guys how I take a trade almost from start to finish. So let's see. Let's see if I can find some. Okay, we just missed this one. The CCI was low, so I wouldn't have taken that. These are the coins that I like trading because they have very good spreads, they have very good breakouts, and very, very good short-term breakouts. So these are the coins that I typically trade on a day-to-day basis. So let's see if we find anything we like. So ETC is always squeezing. So this indicator doesn't really work on ETC. Okay, then VN almost faked you out here. You have a squeeze. You came in for the breakout, but it failed. And you could have been warned about this by this failure here. So you have the CCI coming from negative 100 to the positive 100, but it fails instantly. So this is weakness here. When you see the CCI break the breakout zone and not actually break out, that is very, very strong weakness. And then we're seeing negative divergence here. It's failing to break out again. So we had high volume. We had the squeeze. The CCI was almost breaking out. We might have even taken this trade if we didn't pay too much attention to the previous price action. But this could have warned you based on this failure of the breakout that this one was going to fail as well. So let's see if we can find anything else. OMG's coming in for a squeeze. The volume's starting to come in. So like we were talking about earlier, the volume's starting to come in. We still need the CCI to climb a little higher. GVT has no squeeze. You missed your entry on GVT. Ripple is starting to squeeze. We still need the CCI to be higher. Looks like today would have been a boring day. We are not seeing anything. Okay, so this is exactly what we said earlier. If you guys remember what I said this was going to fail to the 200. And we failed to the 200. So now we're testing the 200. Let's see if it tests and it bounces off of it. We have some buying pressure coming in. So the buying pressure is coming in on the 200. So we can see a bottom here. What did I say about this earlier? Do you guys remember? I said it was going to hit the 200, but I can't remember what else I said.
Anyone got it?
Not sure. But for now, it's hitting the 200. So let's just see what it does on the 200. We'll come back to it. This is actually a coin that I like trading as well. And this is exactly why. Because you have that buy candle there. You have a nice move up. You have that buy candle there. You have a nice move up.
Actually, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you trade purely on price action and chart, or do you trade on the fundamentals and the actual knowledge of what the currency is?
I do no fundamentals. I like out of all these coins on this list, the only one that there's two that I've done analysis on, Ripple and Bitcoin, obviously. All these other coins, I barely even know what they do.
Do you feel that is important in this market or not?
I think it's definitely important for longer term trading. For scalping, I don't think it matters. The only thing that matters for scalping is volume and price action.
Yeah, emotionally, I had to get past that one because it's hard to do research on a coin when it's going up 2% a minute.
Exactly.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions from the chat?
What are your Bollinger Band settings?
Bollinger Band settings are 12 and 2. So this is a custom Bollinger Band, so you're not going to get it to look exactly like this, but I use a 12 Bollinger Band with 2 standard deviation.
And what's your CCI at?
It is a 50. I went over like 4 or 5 of my strategies on my stream, and literally, I don't think anyone on my channel uses any of my strategies except for this one. This is like the only one, because they love this one so much because it's very profitable. It's a very profitable breakout strategy, and that's typically what most traders like to trade is breakouts. So once they started using this, they don't really use anything else I teach. So it's basically the one that I teach almost 100% now. Can you look at BNB? Yeah, let's take a look. So BNB just had a breakout. So you had a buy candle back here. You had another buy and another buy. So this is a very good breakout here. We have, let me get rid of this line. We had the Bollinger Band squeeze. What do we look for? We look for the squeeze. So the grayed in area here, or the yellowed in, shaded in. We look for the CCI to start trending upward in a sideways or uptrending price action. So this is kind of sideways here. We have small price action moving upward, but we have the CCI start to uptrend off this bottom test. It tests the negative 100, and now we start to uptrend. It fails the zero line, which is okay. We come back, we fail the zero line again, but now we start heading upward. And then boom, right here, we break the 100 line on this candle here. The problem is, the reason why this started to kind of go sideways is you have the 200 EMA right there. So like I tell my chat is, if you're trading this strategy and you're below the 200, your breakouts are going to be very weak, and your target should be the 200 because it's going to be massive resistance. So if I were to take this trade, my target would have been right here. So I probably wouldn't have taken this trade, because if I do this strategy below the 200, that's always my target, is the 200. So we would have waited for a buy signal above the 200, which was right here. But BNB is looking very weak. So we probably would have lost this trade here. Let's keep an eye on it. But this might have been one of our losers. Yeah, so the volume like disappeared on BNB. I don't know what happened, but you had very, very good volume. It surged up, and now nobody wants to buy BNB. BNB is kind of a hard coin to trade with these strategies. I don't trade BNB. The reason I don't trade BNB is you have a lot of people buying BNB for non-technical reasons. They're only buying it to pay for their fees. So you have a lot of people, if you base your trading on technicals, you have a lot of people that are buying and selling that have nothing to do with technicals. So
with actually, not to challenge, but that like BNB and KuCoin shares and the upcoming Huobi, like they're based simply on the fact that the exchange has volume, and that's going to make the coin go up.
And
you wouldn't trade it based on just
no.
I
think BNB will definitely go up long term, because the thing with BNB is the more people who come on Binance, the more traders, the more BNB will be pumped, because all the traders are going to want to have lower fees. So they're all going to keep buying BNB. And I just had to buy BNB. Thankfully, I bought it right before that pump. It pumped like 30% or something. I bought it right before that pump, not even probably 8 hours before. And I didn't even buy it on anything technical. I said, oh, look at this. I'm out of BNB. I need BNB for my fees. I didn't even look at the chart. I just bought it.
We were literally talking about BNB that night, and the point of the story was that BNB under $10 is a bargain.
Oh yeah.
And one of our mods like just went and forward into it, and then went to bed, and then woke up, and it was up 40%.
Yeah, it went up that much because they said they were going to do their blockchain stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, I think BNB is a great coin. It's just very hard to base your buy and sell signals off technicals, because you have a lot of people that do like what I did. Hey, I'm out of BNB. I'm going to go buy BNB. So you're like, oh, there's a lot of buyers coming in. But there's only a lot of buyers coming in because maybe they just ran out of BNB. You know what I mean?
That's actually a great question here. So it's a simple noob question. How do you get into trades when the price is moving fast? I don't use market orders and find that I set my limits inappropriately and don't get in on time.
So I can't show you what I do on Binance, but what I do is when I'm on Binance, if I want to get into a trade immediately, I never use market orders. Market orders are terrible. I don't advise using market orders ever. For stock trading, it's a different story, but for crypto, I don't advise using market. What I do is I click my buy thing down here on the bottom window of Binance, and I just quickly flick my mouse up and I click the ask price. So whatever is the lowest ask price, I click on that and then I hit buy. If it doesn't go through immediately, I'll wait a little bit, and then I'll cancel it and I'll do it again. But I never do market orders. How much BNB do you need to have for daily trades? So I literally buy the minimum. So whatever Binance will allow me to buy as the bare minimum, that's what I buy. And I did that the very first time I started trading started trading on Binance back in like January something. And I just ran out right before that pump on BNB. And then I bought
It's not
more.
very expensive.
Yeah, it's not at all.
Like I buy about 2 every 2 weeks, maybe, if that.
Yeah, I think I have like 1.5.
Just see if any other questions here.
I'm a very passive trader though. So if you're a very active trader, you're probably gonna have to buy more. I take typically 2 to 4 trades a day. So I am very, very passive and laid back when I trade. I do that because when I traded stocks and when I traded futures, my biggest downfall was overtrading. You never want to overtrade. You want to find what kind of is your range of trades that you are the most profitable on a day, and you want to do that every single day. So what I do is, my goal is, or not a goal, but my max trades is 5 a day, which we rarely ever hit. If any of my viewers are in here, they're probably laughing at me. We never hit 5. We hit like 2 or 3 a day.
That's all you need, though.
Yeah, and what I do is, if I lose my first trade, my second trade, I never let it run. So my second trade, I have a 3% target or whatever my target is, and I get out as soon as it hits my target. I never trail it. I don't let it run. I try to get back from being a red day to a green day. If I lose my second trade, so if I'm 0 for 2, my third trade is my last trade of the day. And
3 strikes you're out.
Exactly. If I lose that third trade, I'm done. If I win that third trade, it's still typically my last trade. I might take another trade if it looks really good, but at that point, I'm 1 for 3, and it's been a bad day.
Now it's emotional.
Yeah.
Do you always trade in the 5-minute? And how do your trades differ when switching time frames?
I always trade on the 5-minute. If I'm swing trading, which I typically never do anymore, I use a 4-hour and I use a daily.
What's the ideal amount of time you're in scalps for? Sorry.
Mostly ideal is amount within 5 minutes. So that's if it's like really going up.
Okay. So you're going to say today?
Typically, probably 5 to 20 minutes. 20 minutes is really like, oh my God, I want to get out of this trade as soon as possible. But we've been in trades for a long, long time. I try to trade coins that have decent volume, so I don't get stuck in those low volume coins. But sometimes I'll see a perfect pattern on a low volume coin, and I'll take the chance. But like I said earlier, it could be a perfect pattern. If you don't have volume, it doesn't mean anything. Any more questions?
I'm searching.
Do you have anything that you're just holding long term? Do you take all your money out and only buy for? So what I do is we trade with Bitcoin. We trade the Bitcoin market, and at the end of the day, I always hold on to Bitcoin because, like I was saying earlier, if it goes up, I'm making money because I'm still holding Bitcoin, and if it goes down, I short it if it breaks big levels. But if it starts to go down, it's kind of just a sideways movement. I don't really care because our goal is to day trade to grow our Bitcoin value and then hope that Bitcoin continues to go up in the future. So I'm long-term on Bitcoin, obviously. It's not my favorite coin. I like Ethereum much more than I like Bitcoin. I probably could switch to the Ethereum market. I tried that before and we didn't have as much success. So I definitely like trading the Bitcoin market more.
So at the end of the day, is your end goal just to have more Bitcoin?
Exactly. I don't even look at my dollar value at the end of the day. I look at my Bitcoin value and I post my ending balance. And if we're up, it's a green day. If we're down, it's a red day. If my Bitcoin balance goes up, but it's down in dollar value, I still think it's a green day.
Do you have any predictions?
What was that?
Do you have any short-term predictions with Bitcoin?
For Bitcoin, let me pull it up. So what I'm looking at, obviously I have a lot of levels. Sorry, this is how I trade Bitcoin. I trade Bitcoin based on levels, and I've got a lot of them. Hold on. So what we're seeing on Bitcoin here, this is the 4-hour. So the 4-hour, this is where I shorted it. back when it broke this level. I took my profit down here. So we got almost a perfect trade. So now we're seeing a bottom. Where is it bouncing? It's bouncing off the top of this level here. So it hits this level, fails. Let's continue to do it. And then boom, we break this level. So now where's our next level? Our next level is right here on, what price is that? About 8,600. So we saw this candle hit it. We saw this candle hit it. And now this candle is trying to push higher and break it. This is actually a strong pattern here. Let me look at the volume. Yeah, this is a strong pattern on volume. So what you're seeing here is you're seeing a strong bullish strength candle. We broke a level. We see a consolidation candle here at the top of the strength candle on low volume. So you want to see high volume green, low volume red, high volume green. So this is not giving you the volume and it's not turning green. So this is probably going to fail down to this level here. If it breaks this level, we're going to retest this level here. So that's 7,800. This level is 8,350. So what I'm looking at short term for Bitcoin is either, oops, I got rid of my volume, either for the volume to come in, turn this candle green and break this level. If we fail it, we're heading down for sure. We're going to break this low. We're going to probably break this level here and we're heading down. I don't want that to happen. Obviously I want this to go up because I'm holding Bitcoin. So hopefully what it does is fails and then bounces off that level and heads higher. But
yeah,
there's not enough data right now. You need to wait another, I'd say about 4 hours. At the end of the day, if you ask me this question, it'd be a lot easier. We definitely need more data. You need to see what this candle does.
I shorted at the same time you did. I went short, but I didn't take profits, and now it's sitting at the, so I'm really hoping
always take profits. Always take profits.
I thought
look what I did with, I don't know if you were in here. I don't know if you were in here earlier, but if you heard about what I did with Ripple, yeah, take profits, man. I never hold trades anymore. That, like I said, the value that I gained from that made me a much better trader. And the reason I took profits here, I'll show you. I was watching this on a 30-minute, and I'll show you exactly why I took profits.
Yeah, I anticipated a bounce around that area, but I didn't think that we would actually break through that resistance again. And it looks like we're trying to test major support again. So
I actually could have held this longer. This is the candle that I got out on. Let me see. I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. So this was my trade about like right there. So I shorted it up here on this candle when it retouched this support. And then I took my profits when we were, what the hell just happened? There we go. I took my profits right when we were outside the Bollinger Band. Because like I said, look at Bitcoin's Bollinger Band. It respects the Bollinger Band 100%. So, for example, if you're looking at the Bollinger Bands and you're in this short here, you need to take profits. You're outside the Bollinger Band. Your candle is weak. You're probably on low volume. Now, the volume's decent, actually. But you're outside Bollinger Band. Your candle's weak. As soon as you saw this start to turn green and come back into the Bollinger Band, take your profits. You can obviously get back in for a short afterwards, but that is a perfect place to take profits, is outside of a Bollinger Band. And that's exactly what I did. I shorted here. I got out 0.3% off of this low. So basically, as soon as this candle started to pull back, as soon as it pulled back, I got out. And somebody asked in chat, how do I get these levels? And I'll show you. For $19.99. I'm just kidding.
I'll do it for $15.
So these levels are just highs and lows. There's nothing fancy about these levels. All I'm looking at is highs and lows on a 4-hour time frame. So I go to a 4-hour time frame and I look at highs and lows. We have this low that created the high. We have this low that helped create that high. We have this double top. That's another level. We have a low here that created this high. We have a low here that helped create that high. So let me get rid of all that. We also have this low here, but that is actually already created by this low. So that level is supported by this low here. So that's not a new level. That's just the same level. Here's another new level. We have the low that created this high. We have the low here, which is not a new level. That's created by these highs here. So look at this. Just by knowing these levels, you have the double top there. You could have known that it would have consolidated right here if it didn't break. So it didn't break. So this is a consolidation point because this level, the double top. So like I said earlier, all you need to trade Bitcoin is price action, trend analysis, and support and resistance levels. And obviously, just that's a level there. There's a high. There's a low there. And that's all my levels. It's a lot of levels, but that is how I trade.
You just have to put them in there. You know,
Yeah,
as we were saying earlier, and you said you don't use a lot of indicators yourself, right?
I do when I'm scalping, but when I'm trading Bitcoin, I just use the levels and Bollinger Bands.
Yeah, because DopeTrades doesn't use a lot of indicators either. It's just strictly candles and momentum and trend. That's it.
I have
Yeah,
a
when he,
question about that.
yeah, go ahead.
So you said earlier that you butt heads with Dope. What is it about his trading that is different from yours?
Oh no,
Because it
it's
seems
not.
like
it's
a
not.
little bit similar.
We don't trade differently. Well, I guess we do trade differently.
Okay.
It's just like when we talk to each other, we
I think
butt
we trade
heads.
very similar.
Oh, okay.
When we talk to each other, we butt heads. Like he came into my channel the other day and we were butting heads, and then I've only talked to him like 3 times, but every time we butt heads. So that's why I was just saying we don't. I have nothing against the guy. The guy, he's a great trader. I haven't taken his course or anything, but I'm not. Yeah.
Right on, man.
Yeah, I do things differently, and he does things differently.
Everybody does things differently.
So I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you do short Bitcoin. What exchange do you use to short?
I actually
Bitcoin?
don't short it. I just call it shorting to make it easier to understand. What I do is I sell it into Tether. So it's basically the same as buy low, sell high. I just say shorting because when people are like, "Oh, are you in a long or short position?" and I'll say I'm in a short position because I'm hoping it goes down. So what I do is at the end of the day, I'm holding Bitcoin, obviously. So I just sell my Bitcoin into Tether, and then I just wait for the price to go back down, and then I buy it lower. So this isn't actually a short position, but because I'm hoping for the price to fall, it's kind of a short position. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I was just curious what exchange it was. So,
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm using Binance. I don't actually short.
Sure.
Yeah, I just sell into Tether.
Very conservative.
I actually don't short because there is no shorting on Binance. If there was shorting, I would short it. What's going on, Tricky? Do you guys have any more questions for me?
What's I know that well, I haven't really been listening too much. I've been kind of busy, but for the last bit here, those indicators like the green arrows and the red arrows, which indicator is that?
That's part of my Bollinger Bands actually. So you don't need that though. You can go to built-ins. That is Williams fractals. All I did was I had somebody from my community. He basically took like 4 indicators and put them all into my Bollinger Band. So my Bollinger Band ties into my CCI. It ties into the fractals. It ties into the Keltner squeeze. It's just all one indicator now. So like if you're using a free version, you can use just my one custom indicator, and it will give you like all those indicators.
Okay, very cool.
Any other questions from chat or anybody in here?
I'm trying to see. Don't think we missed anything.
Thoughts on trading leverage from Americo Analytics?
Ooh, actually, I found one.
Thanks for the Twitch Prime sub, dude. Thank you so much.
Okay,
wait,
sorry. I
there's
should
a couple.
probably be thanking people for subbing to you guys. I'm not used to looking at chat and.
No, that's right. Yeah, trying to get the thanks in for them, but not interrupt you.
Thank you guys for all the bits and the subscriptions.
Could you go over how you approach a trade? Well, I think he's
Oh
done
yeah, I
that
totally
most of
forgot.
He's done that most of the chat, but yeah.
I was trying to do
quick sum up
that, but
for those who just got here.
I was trying to do that earlier, like look for one that I could go over, but I wouldn't trade any of these. Because like I said, I'm very, very passive. I only take like two to three trades a day. And I wouldn't trade any of these I'm looking at currently. If any of my viewers, you guys know what I look for. If you see something that I would typically trade, please post it in chat, and I will go over how I would trade.
You look for like daily movers? You look for like hourly movers?
No, I do this all day. So I have this watch list of these coins that I like to trade, and I just click through them, and I look for the squeeze, and I look for, well, here, I'll go through the checklist of what I look for. So first thing I look for, are we above or below the 200? So this one's kind of hovering around it. So let's go to another one. All right, so like on, what is that, ETC? Okay, so ETC, the first thing I see when I pull this chart up, are we above or below the 200? So we're below the 200, so we're in a downtrend. We're pretty weak. So if I were to take this trade, the breakout is 1, going to be weaker, and 2, my target's going to be the 200. So it's not going to be a long trade. So for example, if I were to take this, my profit target would only be 0.8%, so I wouldn't trade this. I want to see at least 3% be a reasonable target within reach. But ETC, you're not going to get that. So ETC is a high cap coin, so you're not going to see that 3% move. You probably can't even pull up a 3% move. Let's see.
On ETC?
On a short-term scalp. Actually, yeah, you have like negative 3%.
No, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
You have this one here. That's like a 10%. But for the most part, we kind of big surge and we tail off. But yeah, so I look for above or below the 200. And then I look at volume. Is it a decent amount of volume? And then I look at where the CCI is. So if the Bollinger Band is squeezing, where is the CCI? So this almost had a buy signal. So this would have been a buy signal. It failed. This would have been a buy signal. It failed. So like I said, these are failing because we're below the 200. These breakouts are going to be a lot weaker, and they're going to fail more often than if you're above the 200. Let's see if we can find
one. So you
one
only
above.
take the trades above 200?
No, I take the ones below, but I'm just very, very careful.
Of course,
okay, so here we actually just saw the BNB, what we were just talking about earlier. These are your buy candles, and now we're taking off. So your stop loss is 1% below your buy. So if you would have bought it, say like in the middle of these candles.
Just 1%?
Yeah, very, very tight. I do very, very tight trading. Stop loss is 1%. Your profit target is 3%. So let's see if 3% is reasonable. So 3% is not reasonable. So this trade would be a little harder. Because the previous high is only 2.4% away. So to get 3%, we'd have to break the previous high. And we're on very low volume. So 3% is not reasonable. So I'm not sure if I would have taken that trade.
Oh, what's that indicator called again? He missed it.
Which one?
I'm not sure. Madly 007? I'm going to guess the CCI.
This is CCI. I'll show you. You just type in CCI.
CCI for, can you sum up what CCI is for anyone that might have just popped in?
So the CCI, it's hard for me to explain what it is and how I use it because I use it the opposite way of how it's supposed to be used. The CCI is supposed to be an overbought, oversold indicator that kind of gives you the trend analysis at the same time. So a normal CCI, these will be overbought conditions. If we're above the 100, those are overbought. If we're below the negative 100, we're oversold. And then you obviously can use it for divergence. You can use it for trend analysis. I use it the complete opposite. So this Let me move this. This would be considered a sell signal. I use that as a buy signal. This would be considered a buy signal. I use that as a sell signal. So my CCI is completely different, but that's why I also use a longer term CCI. So for the longer term, we see these breakouts, which they are saying is overbought, but I don't believe in overbought and oversold. That's why I don't use RSI. I don't use anything that kind of gives you an overbought, oversold mentality. The only thing that I use that gives me kind of the overbought, oversold mentality is Bollinger Bands. So this would be oversold. I keep putting this right in my way.
I'm curious, how does that stack up like next to a stock RSI?
How does this CCI?
Not exactly.
Let's take a look. Yeah, so the RSI is giving you an oversold. My CCI is telling you to buy. So same thing here. This is telling you to buy on the CCI, but on the RSI, it's not telling you to buy. Let me zoom out a little bit. So both of these are showing oversold, but I don't use this for oversold. So this would be your exit. So this would be your exit based on my CCI when you break the negative 100. See, the problem with this is what I tell people is shorting is not very available. So because shorting is not available, this actually becomes a buy signal, even though on my CCI it's a sell signal. Because if you were able to short, you would short it here, and then your target would be a percentage, a trail, whatever you want to use. But because there's no shorting available, this actually becomes a buy signal. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. Because we do it. Obviously, a lot of users use BitMEX and shorting, and on the RSI, when it dips below that, it'd be a long signal above.
Exactly. So I'll show you exactly how you can short on BitMEX with this strategy. So this is almost giving you a short right here. As soon as this breaks the negative 100, that is a short entry. You want to make sure that we're not overextended outside the Bollinger Band, but it's giving you a short entry. Your target would probably be this price level here. So the RSI is not giving you any signals. So this is why I don't use RSI right here. This is a perfect example. This is telling you to sell it because this is oversold, or sorry, overbought. It's telling you to sell it. It's overbought. But look at what price does. It just keeps going up. And on all strong breakouts, almost every single strong breakout is going to have an overbought indicator. It's going to tell you it's overbought. But it's not overbought because it's not even done with the move yet. You know what I mean? You still have much more of the move to get to before you're considered overbought. So I don't use overbought and oversold. The closest I use is a stochastics RSI. Let me pull that up.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like using RSI for overbought or oversold conditions. I just use it as a momentum. It's
amazing for divergences. If you use it for divergence, it's amazing. RSI is, I consider that probably the #1 thing it was made for, but I know it wasn't. It was made for the overbought, oversold. If you use, and I'll go over divergence in a second, that is the best way to use an RSI. So let me go to the built-ins here.
It's definitely one of my most favorite ways of using RSI for sure.
Yeah. So the stochastics, and if you're one of my viewers, you know what I call this. I call this buyer's weakness and seller's weakness. I don't call it overbought and oversold. So the sellers are becoming weak. The buyers are becoming weak. That doesn't mean that we're getting ready to reverse. That just means that the buying pressure is starting to fail and the buyers are becoming weaker. So for example, you have the buyers becoming weak here. You start to pull back. Stochastics pulls back. The sellers are becoming weak. Your sellers are becoming weak on a massive support level. That is a great buy signal. Your sellers are weak on a support. So if any buyers come in, you're going to send this thing soaring. And that's exactly what happened. The buyers came in. That's your buying pressure right there. Big buying pressure. The sellers are very weak. You saw that massive surge. it bounced right off the 200. So if you guys don't use the 200 EMA, I highly recommend it. The 200 EMA is respected by almost every coin. What was I going to go over? I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, RSI, how to use it for divergence. I'll show you. So here's a perfect example here. So we have a sideways pattern on Bitcoin, but what do we see here? We're sideways in price, but what do we see here on the RSI? We see a failure. We see negative divergence from peak to peak. So if we look at this move to this move, we are basically sideways. This one's a little higher, but the RSI is negative. It's a negative downtrend. So you're downtrending. And now we see a failure. Like I said, we're outside the Bollinger Band. You never sell outside the Bollinger Band. This is a buy signal. So you don't sell on a buy signal. That's a buy signal. There's a buy signal. There's another one. These are sell signals. Bitcoin will respect the Bollinger Band 100%. So if we pull up the Bollinger Band of the default, I use a 12. So if you pull up the default Bollinger Band, which I believe is 20, it still respects it. It's just not as easy to see. The 12 is much easier to see. The 12 is much easier to see the short-term price action. You can see the squeezes much more prominently. So watch the RSI, or sorry, not RSI, watch the CCI. The CCI is also giving you negative divergence. You have this peak to this peak, and then you have this peak to this peak. But we have sideways price. So we have sideways price, but our CCI is failing. So that's very weak. And that's how you use divergence. You can use it in the opposite direction as well. If you have sideways price, just like you had here, you have this down peak here you can probably take that peak of this one here. RSI is climbing. Price is sideways. Does that make sense? Does anybody in chat have any questions? Are you guys confused about anything?
So actually, the CCI, like it looks pretty, like once it passes those concrete levels, it's pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
But so basically, it's just identifying trend or extreme, like extreme changing conditions, or.
I use it to identify breakouts. So I call this the neutral zone. If it's, you see how it's kind of dark and then it lights up. If it's in the dark, that's in the neutral zone. I don't really care what it's doing. I look at it to find divergence, and I look at it to find a trend. So if it's uptrending in a sideways pattern, that's a very, very good signal that we're going to have a breakout. If it's downtrending in a neutral zone, that's a good signal that you're going to have a negative breakout. But like you said, when it breaks out, that's when you have the clear moves. When you break the 100 line, I keep moving this right in my way. When you break the 100 line, or you break the negative 100 line, that's when you have the major moves. Everything in between is weak. I'm telling you, give it a test for like a day or two. Test out a 50 CCI with my Bollinger Band squeeze, and I promise you, if you follow that method of the squeeze with the CCI breakout, you'll see what I'm saying. You'll see the big moves. I'm way over my time here. Is the person who wanted to come on at 4? Am I intruding on you?
Can I ask you what can you click on that link there now? Because single player has some goals. I just want to know what you think of them.
Let's take a look. What, did you guys piss him off or something?
No, there was a troll in the chat, and it was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna do this and that, and that was what came of it.
Qdo BTC is very interesting. Let's take a look. And what did you guys say about me going over? Do I need to wrap this up?
Nope, you're all
I think
good.
we're
If
good.
you
Let me check
got
the
more
schedule.
stuff, go ahead.
Keep going.
Got it. Yeah, so this does look good. We've got a good surge in volume. We have the increasing buying pressure. The thing that doesn't look good, we're below the 200. So look at all these failures. These are giving you buy candles, but we're below the 200. So like I said before, if you're below the 200, these buy signals are going to be much weaker, and they're going to fail. I wouldn't say more often than they would succeed, but they're definitely not going to be as strong as if you're above the 200. Because look at it this way, your trend is down, and you're trying to trade a bullish breakout. Trying to trade a bullish breakout on a bearish trend is very unlikely. So what you want to see is you want to see price to be above the 200. That was supposed to be an arrow. And then you want to see these buy signals. So this can still have a move. Let's see how far it is from the 200. So we're only 1.6%. So I wouldn't take this trade. It's not worth the risk, because I would have to risk about 1%. That would only give me a 1.6 RR, risk to reward, and it's not worth it. So I wouldn't take this trade, but I do like the squeeze. This is actually probably going to hit the 200, but it's not worth the risk to me, because we have a sideways pattern here. We're consolidating, but look at the CCI. The CCI is climbing. So CCI is climbing on a sideways pattern. Price is starting to accumulate. So your target would be the 200. If you take this trade, your stop loss would be below the lows. So I'll make the trade here for you. I'm not going to take it, but I'll make it. So you can actually have a tight stop here. Have like a 0.5% stop. But I wouldn't take this trade here. You want to wait for the CCI to be much higher. But for example, like if you took this trade, let me zoom in. If you took this trade, let's say price is probably like somewhere around here. Your stop would be below the low. So you have all these lows here. Your stop would be like there. Your target would be the 200. Your risk to reward ratio is 2.27, which isn't bad. I look to have over a 2 at least. So that's not a bad risk to reward. The problem is it's only a 1.4% gain. So
sneering. His wife just came home, so he had to leave for a minute, and he missed how you set up your Bollinger Bands.
So I have a 12 Bollinger Band with a 2 standard deviation. This Bollinger Band is not available. It's part of my community's indicators, but you can just use a built-in. So let me get rid of this one. You can use just a simple Bollinger Band. This is my default one that I used before. And it's set to 12 and 2. And then you can obviously just change the colors how you want them. And visually, just train yourself to see the squeezes. So you have the Bollinger Bands expanding, but then you have them start to squeeze in. So this is a Bollinger Band squeeze. So we can see here, if I go back to my other indicator. So keep an eye on this. Visually, this is a squeeze. So all this one does is it shades in the squeeze. It does the squeeze based on a Keltner channel, not based on a Bollinger Band width. I base my squeezes mainly on a Bollinger Band width. So how squeezed are the 2 bands together? But this indicator that I'm using now, it bases the squeeze off a Keltner channel of 25 and 1.5. So when the Keltner channel gets inside of the Bollinger Band, that is a squeeze. We're starting to see a breakout here too. It's starting to break out.
Hey, could you have a look at PPT with this?
I apologize. You asked me that a long time ago. I'm sorry.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, so PPT, first thing I see, I wouldn't trade this. just immediately looking at this chart, I wouldn't trade it. One, because the volume is very choppy and very low. Two, because we're below the 200. And look at the price action. Price action is way too choppy. I don't trade stuff like this. But what did you want me to look for?
I just wanted to look at how your indicator overlays with PPT to see how it compares to my squeezes.
It probably doesn't work too well on this one because it doesn't have the volume and the price is very choppy. So let's see.
What's the time frame? Put it on like 15 or 30.
30, let's see. So 30, you would have gotten a buy signal a little late on this one. So this one, you were below the negative 100. You started to curve up here. It's always in my way, god damn it. It's always my way. Here we have the CCI pushing higher on a squeeze, which could have been your entry, but I typically wait for the break of the 100 line. So your entry would have been this candle here, which is actually a beautiful entry. So you have the Bollinger Band squeeze, you have the break of the 100 line. So that's your entry. Let's see, your target would have been either a 3%, a trailing stop, or sorry, 3%, a trailing stop, or yeah, that's basically it. So here's my trailing stop. So you would have got out of this trade on this candle here.
Can you give me the date, the time and date for the entry, please?
Yeah, the entry is 0312 at 1600.
Yeah, very nice. It lines up with mine too. That's great. Thanks.
What are you looking at on yours?
I have a simple TTM squeeze, and I use the 13 EMA.
For the squeeze?
Yeah, for the squeeze breakout, I wait for the 13 EMA to cross the 200, and it lines up almost perfectly with what you said.
Gotcha, yeah. So the TTM squeeze is actually based on basically a Bollinger Band squeeze strategy. I don't use the TTM squeeze because, like you said, I kind of already have that fixed with my other indicators. But the TTM squeeze is definitely a very, very good indicator. What I use instead of a TTM squeeze, which it's not based on the same methods, but if I pull them up next to let me do it on another chart actually. If I pull them up next to each other, you'll see how close together they are. And whoever I was talking to earlier about the awesome oscillator, he probably already knows this. These things are very, very similar. You can see differences, obviously, but they are definitely very similar when it comes to breakouts and trend shifts in trends. So you have the squeeze there. This one came in for the second wave, so you have the first wave, second wave. This is the awesome oscillator. It bases its
Oh, I love that indicator.
awesome oscillator, yeah. Were you the one I was talking to earlier?
No, we were playing that 1 to 5 scalping like a month or so ago.
Yeah, the awesome oscillator is amazing. If you guys don't know who Bill Williams is, go to YouTube. And can I pull up YouTube here, or is that
So wait, his name is William Williams.
Bill Williams, yeah.
But William is William Williams.
It probably is, yeah.
Yeah, you can go to another tab.
Okay, yeah, I'll show you the video.
Cybernet, what post?
So this video is very, very old, but it's amazing. If you watch this video, the practical fractal, just type in Bill Williams practical fractal. It's an amazing video. He goes over,
Yeah, it's good.
yeah, he goes over his fractal strategy and kind of just his basic methodology when trading. And he is just amazing to listen to. If you watch any of his seminars, if you read any of his books, he's insane. He's by far my favorite trader.
Check out the Williams alligator.
Yeah, I based one of my strategies off of Williams Alligator. I'll show you what I did. Mine's actually a little better than his alligator. It has better entries. I'll show you. Let me go to or where is it? It's probably under templates. Trident. Here we go. So I typically do this on a longer time frame, obviously. So let's look at 1 hour. So let's pull this up next to his alligator. Okay, so his alligator gave you a buy signal. Let's see, right here on this candle. My strategy gave you a buy signal somewhere in this candle. So I was a little bit before his. Let's go to another case. So same thing. His indicator gave you a buy signal right up here. My indicator gave you a buy signal somewhere down here. And my indicator is very, very simple. It has no offsets. All it uses is 3 EMAs, an 8, a 16, and a 24. It's based on the closes. And you trade it based on a trend change. So you wait for, so you would have shorted this. That's your trend change. Or actually, that's not. You would have shorted this because you have your uptrend. You changed into your downtrend. So that was your short. You could have taken profit right here, and then you would have taken profit and then gotten right back into the trade, because you take profit when they recross. Sorry, let me delete this stuff. So you take your trade, you take profit when it recrosses, and then you take the trade again, obviously because it recrossed again. So you would have taken profit, you would have shorted again. You would have taken profit right here, and you would have went long. So you reverse. So you take profit and you switch your position. So here you would have went from short to being long. The problem I had with this strategy, the reason I stopped using it, is it's very lagging, because it's a moving,
super laggy.
Yeah, it's a moving average strategy. Anything that uses moving average crossovers is going to be extremely laggy.
Might as well just use like Ichimoku and volume and trend.
Exactly, and that's the exact reason I stopped using it. It's a good indicator, but there's much better stuff out there. I was actually pretty profitable when I traded futures with this, though.
Yeah, well, it never fails, but it's too laggy. Can't do it. We're all gamers. We can't deal with lag.
Exactly.
I'm trying to see if there's any other questions here. Do you guys use any other Bitcoin exchanges? I'll take that one. I think that everybody does exchanges. See myself, I use 7.
Sorry.
And because if I'm not going to lose everything, I think everyone. And also, there's lots of changes that you don't have access to.
Might be cutting out. I don't know.
Just.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was my internet or him.
Yeah, you're cutting out, Scroat.
Oh. Stupid Canada.
You sound all right now.
But yeah, to answer your question, Merchant, they are just as laggy. That is correct.
Oh,
Anything
sorry.
that uses a moving average is going to be more. It's going to be laggy than any other indicators.
Stoked his asses twice. Do you take into consideration what BTC is doing when you make your trades?
Yes, I do. If Bitcoin is downtrending heavily, then I'm much more passive because that strategy that I was showing you guys is a breakout strategy. So to trade a breakout strategy, we need Bitcoin to kind of either be sideways or uptrending. If it's downtrending and it's pulling my trades down, then it's obviously going to be a much weaker breakout, if it's even a breakout. So if Bitcoin is failing, I'm much more passive. If Bitcoin is going up, then typically I'll still be a little more passive, but it's still okay to trade my breakout strategy. If Bitcoin is sideways, then I trade normally. Let's take a look at Bitcoin.
Does anybody else have any questions for? Hup. Hip.
So this actually gave you a buy candle here on the 1 hour. This gave you a buy candle here. Sorry guys for the blank noise. You guys have any other questions? I can go over like really simple support and resistance stuff while we're not doing anything. I know I went over the candles earlier. I did go over how to make these levels, but for anybody who missed it, I'll go over. Let me go to a blank chart and I'll go over it again.
Is Obey Owl Nation from your channel?
Is who?
Obey Owl Nation.
I don't think so.
We got.
Was he trolling?
Use risk reward. Ish. It wasn't really a valid effort, so I'm not paying attention. Oh, that's a good one. What do you change your Bitcoin in at the end of the day? I know my answer, but what's
I leave my Bitcoin in Bitcoin.
Yes. Tether is for suckers.
I don't trust Tether enough to sleep on it. And here's the funny thing.
Reason.
Here's the funny thing. If you go back and look at my spreadsheet, my largest trade for the month was 0.98%, less than a percent. And I tell my chat all the time, I'm not sleeping on anything but Bitcoin. But like 2 days ago, when we were seeing that massive dip in Bitcoin, it broke that 7,800 level. So here's the funny thing. I'll show you. It's pretty terrible actually. It broke the 7,800 level, which is right here. And then it came up and then it broke it again. So when it broke it again, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to short 25% of my account and I'm going to go to sleep. I literally shorted the bottom, guys. I shorted the break of the 100 or the 7,800 level.
Sounds like buying Ripple.
That was that was the bottom. I had a stop loss at 2%. So we lost 2%. Not of our whole account, obviously, only of 25%. So we lost about 0.5% of our account. But the reason I bring that up is that is the only trade I've ever slept on, and it's my largest loss for the month. So the correlation is very strong between me sleeping on trades and them going poorly. So I don't sleep on trades, and I consider going into Tether a trade. So I don't sleep on Tether.
And neither do I, and I never promote it, although some do. Anyway.
What would you say for someone like me, for example? I use a strategy where I determine a trend, for example, bullish or bearish. And if it's a bullish trend on Bitcoin, I sleep in Bitcoin. And if it's a bearish trend on Bitcoin, I sleep in USD or Euro.
But just preface, he's in the country of Europe, and that's different there.
Yeah, that's not a bad way to do it. The reason in that, what I do is I don't ever sleep on it. So if it's bearish, I hope that I'm awake for the big move, and then I sleep on the consolidation. So for example, I shorted around here, and then we bought it back around here, and then it was 3 a.m. at this point. I wanted to go to bed, but I didn't, and then I was like, you know what, whatever, I'm gonna short it, and then I got killed. But typically what I do is I try to be awake for the big moves, and I'll short the big moves, and I'll sleep on the consolidation. Obviously, it's come back and it's hurt me a lot from not staying in Tether, but for the most part, I have slept during the right times. It kind of matches with my sleep schedule, but
I wake up at 3%.
Yeah, you're
does,
lucky in that because it's completely opposite for me. I don't sleep and nothing happens. I go to sleep and Bitcoin moves like 10%.
Yeah, that's because you live in Europe, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because I live in the United States, so our time schedules are different. So when I'm awake, it's moving, and when I'm sleeping, it's kind of consolidating.
Also, personally, I kind of think that Blank is running from the law. So he's
doing what?
Running from the law.
Oh, gotcha.
We are not talking about that.
I'm just kidding. Okay, so Obeywall Nation, he's trying to ask about shorting. He's confused how you still make money when it's down.
I'm not sure I understand the question because if I'm shorting,
he's not sure how shorting. I think he's not sure how shorting works.
Okay, here I'll go over
well,
that.
if he's talking about how shorting works, it's essentially you're loaning money from someone to sell Bitcoin right now.
Exactly.
And you will be buying that Bitcoin later on. So if price grows, you will be on negative side.
It's such a weird concept. Like shorting to explain someone shorting to someone is either get it or don't.
But I think what's happening right here, because when he was explaining about his shorting, he's not actually shorting.
Can I try and explain shorting right now with the charts on the screen?
That's why. Hold on. That's why. That's why I was trying to clarify it. I did a bad job doing that, so I apologize, guys. I'm not actually shorting Bitcoin. What I'm doing is, so I sleep on Bitcoin. So when I see a down move coming on Bitcoin, I am selling my Bitcoin into Tether, so into US. Oh, if I can even draw.
Oh, that's an effective analogy. I like that.
SDT. Here we go. I'm selling it into USDT, and then I'm hoping Bitcoin fails. So this is Bitcoin. I'm hoping Bitcoin fails, and then I'm buying it back lower, and then I'm just doing it again. So what's happening here is, for example, say that you have an apple. So you have an apple for $10. You sell that apple for $10. So you have $10 in your pocket. This is one apple. You have one apple at $10. You hope that the price of apples go down, so then you can buy back your apples lower for $5. So now you have two apples. So you had one apple you sold for $10, and now you're buying two apples for $5 each.
Oh, how you like them ripples? I mean apples.
But shorting, what shorting is, it's easier to understand based on stocks. So if you look at the stock market, you have, for example, if you're trading Apple, which is AAPL, I believe. If you're trading Apple, the exchange, if you want to short it, the exchange, so this is the exchange, they are going to...
We need a drying bed. This is awful.
I know, I'm sorry. They're going to send you... the exchange is going to send you the shares. Ugh, it's terrible.
No, keep going.
They're going to send you the shares, and they're going to lend them to you. So it's a loan. Based on margin, you have to have a certain amount of money in your account to be able to loan or accept these shares as a loan. So what you hope Apple fails, so then you can buy back those shares at a lower price. So if they lent them to you at $100, you want to buy them back at $80, and then you want to sell them or give them back to the exchange. This all happens in the background. All you have to do is click a button. This all happens behind the scenes on the exchange. They send you the shares. You hope the price goes down. You buy the shares back, and you send them back. I hope that makes sense. But realistically, from a consumer standpoint, from someone like us, all we do is we hit the big sell button, and they send us the shares, and then we buy them back, and then we give them back.
It's essentially betting on the future.
Exactly. You're speculating on the price going down. When you're going long, don't mistake it from a long time frame. Long is when you are buying low, you're hoping it goes up, and you're selling high. That's going long. Going short is selling, hoping it goes down, and buying low. So some people get confused when they're like, oh, I'm going long. they think you're talking about a time frame. They think you're talking about a long-term time frame. It has nothing to do with time frame. Going long just means you are betting on the price going up.
Yeah, that's a big confusion. Like long and short, is the price going up or down? That's all you're betting on.
Exactly.
It's just gambling.
And when people say short, they think you're talking about short term. They think you're like, oh, so you're scalping? No, shorting is, I'm hoping it goes down. All right, so what do you guys want to look at now?
Sorry, Deja, I just made something just for you. Just for you.
What's that?
A second. There it is.
Did you post it in Discord?
It's coming. I had to make it. I've been waiting to make this one for a while.
Oh,
actually.
I got you.
There it is.
Did you guys address that?
I've actually wanted to make that one for so long. Thank you.
How do you like them ripples? Oh my god. Jesus.
Because you got stuck in Ripple and then you did the Apple thing.
I'm not sure if you guys addressed this question yet, but no, Achilles, the price has to go down for a short to be successful.
Exactly.
At least in excess of your of the fees that you pay for the transaction, it has to go down.
Yeah, there are some shorts where you will make money if the price kind of stays stagnant, but that's not a short. That's more of an option, because there's many different option strategies that are based on you can have your break-even price can be above where you're actually shorting. So, for example, I don't know a lot about options. I don't want to get too far into it, but for example, like if the price is kind of like this, your option can say, if it's below this price or above this price, then you'll still make money. But that's not a short, that's an option. So kind of brought that up off topic.
BitMEX has that as well, where they pay
Go, man.
BitMEX has that as well, where you the shorts pay the longs or the longs pay the shorts, depending on some certain variables. So you can actually make money on a wash trade, basically.
Exactly. Yep.
Our Bugarji, I couldn't answer that question because I can't think that small.
Can you show your alligator settings? Yeah. So if you are looking for my 3 EMA, my kind of like my better alligator, I call it a trident. It's just an 8, 16, and 24. Very simple. You just take 3 EMAs, 8, 16, 24. When the 8 crosses the 24, that's your entry or exit. You also have entries based on pullbacks. So if you have, let's see, so right here is a perfect example. So if you didn't enter on the cross, so if you didn't enter here, you trade the first pullback into the buy zone. The buy zone is the green area, or the sell zone is the red area. So you buy the first pullback. A aggressive entry is on the 8, a conservative entry is on the 24, and a passive entry is on the middle line, the 16. But like I was saying earlier, I don't teach this strategy anymore because my newer strategies are much more efficient. They don't lag, and they're much more profitable.
Mr. Freak, thanks so much for the Twitch Prime sub. Do you use Elliott waves, and do you think they apply to the crypto market?
I do not use Elliott waves. So I'm probably one of the only guys here. I'm one of the only guys who don't use Elliott wave. I don't hate on Elliott wave. I think it's definitely a great method, great theory. It's just not part of my trading psychology. It doesn't fit into my strategy, so I don't use it. Yeah, I know, Craig. They were supposed to kick me off like 2 hours ago. They
Take it
like
back to
me
the
too much, I
channel.
guess.
No, it's been awesome.
Yeah, you're doing great, man. It's all good. Don't worry about that.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I hate. Who's the guy that's coming on
The guy
after
who
me?
just
I
said
feel
no
bad.
problem.
That's
Oh,
fine.
okay. Okay. All
But
right.
honestly, no, I'm not
No,
even,
this has been
not
great.
even rushing you at all. It's awesome.
And Mantler's trying to find ways to fill his time anyway, so.
Perfect.
How does stock RSI and RSI differ? Thanks from your channel sub for that question.
And I would have a question as well about Williams awesome oscillator when you have time.
Okay, so throw them at me one time again. One at a
Ghetto
time?
Crypto says, how does stock RSI and RSI differ?
That I actually can't really explain too much.
Dude, your buddy set you up on that one.
Yeah, he set me up. I can't really explain that one too much. The best way to explain it, I'll pull them both up. The best way for me to explain it is you could see how they kind of move in tandem. They do the same thing. The stochastics is a much faster, much shorter term indicator. It's also based on a stochastics. So the default RSI is not based on a stochastics. So you're basically tying in a stochastics indicator into an RSI. And obviously you guys know that already. It's in the name. But that's my basic understanding, and that's how I use it. So I don't know like the technicals on how they made the indicators. I have no idea. But I'll tell you how I look at them differently. So the RSI, that's overbought, but I don't believe in overbought. And if it's above that, that's oversold. Once again, I don't believe in oversold. The reason I look at, or the way I look at the stochastics is this is seller's weakness, and this is buyer's weakness. So the sellers are becoming weak, the buyers are becoming weak. So you see here, we try to push higher, but the buyers are weak. So the buyers are weak, and we're below the 200. So we're most likely going to fail the 200. And that's exactly what we did. We failed. So here, the buyers are weak, and we're outside the Bollinger Band. So you're most likely going to push higher. That's exactly what we did. What was the other question?
Oh, it was just Ghetto Crypto being a dick.
No, I think someone in the...
No, it was my question. Can you explain awesome oscillator?
Yeah, so the awesome oscillator, let me pull it up. The awesome oscillator is based on the difference between, here, let me bring up the accelerator as well. So the awesome oscillator is based on the difference between a 34 and a 5 EMA, or it might be an MA. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's an EMA. So when the 34 here, let's actually figure it out because I don't want to give you false information. So let's see, is this a cross up? Yes, it is. Okay, so it's based on an EMA. So what it does is it takes the difference between a 5 EMA and a 34 EMA. And this is basically just putting it into a histogram. So what it does is the 5 is the short term, the 34 is the long term. So when the short term crosses the long term, you're coming into an uptrend. That's if it crosses on the upside. If the 5 crosses the 34 on the downside, you're coming into a downtrend. The short term is now crossing the long term moving average. So you pair this with a AC, the Bill Williams AC, because this shows you at what speeds, at what acceleration are these moves happening. So for example, you can see this cross up here is very, very strong. You have that big move on the AC compared to trying to compare it to another cross up. So these are all very strong actually. I was trying to show you some divergence, but here's another cross up. It's very strong on the AC, but it kind of predicts it. You see how the AC kind of predicts the awesome oscillator? the AC starts to turn up. So the AC crossed up here when this candle kind of turned green here. So it almost predicted the bottom here because the AC is starting to turn up. The way I look at the AC is this is buying pressure. This is selling pressure. If this is failing, the buying pressure is becoming weaker. If this is failing towards the midline, the buying or selling pressure is becoming weaker. So if we look at here, let me go back. Here you have the AO turn green, the awesome oscillator, or sorry, the AC turned green, crossed the midline. So this is showing you not only are we heading into an uptrend, we're accelerating into that uptrend. So the buyers are really buying this into an uptrend. And then we kind of had some consolidation on the AC. You had some selling pressure here. You dipped down. You recrossed. So this is your, I think it's the second wave. You have one wave, two wave, and then you have the third wave there. These aren't waves like Elliott waves. These are just the waves in the AC. Typically what I've seen from the AO is the biggest price action will happen on the third wave. So you'll have, here's one wave, two wave. This one wasn't the third wave. This one was the fourth wave. So typically I see the big price action happen on the third wave, not the fourth wave. But yeah, so you look at the AO for your trend change. Is it an uptrend or a downtrend? You look at the AC to see how fast are we accelerating into or out of that uptrend or downtrend. Does that make sense?
Yep. I think we are missing Bitcoin move.
All right, let's take a look. Yep, Bitcoin is failing here. We do have another, we have a support down here though. We've got some support. So like we were just talking about, this is now a trend change. It went from an uptrend to a downtrend, and we're decelerating very quickly. This is decelerating faster than both of these previous moves. So this is definitely a strong bearish move. Yeah, I'll go back to the levels. It actually failed that level perfectly. So the level that we were looking at earlier, it failed it perfectly. So you have exactly what I said earlier. This is forming a evening star. So you have your green candle, you have your star, and now you're forming the red candle. This would be a strong, this is actually a bullish pattern without this candle. If this was a, sorry, not this candle. If this candle turned green on high volume, that's actually a very strong bullish pattern where you have a strong green candle, a small pullback on low volume. So you want high volume, low volume, and then you want the next candle to be green on high volume. You want it to break the volume of the red candle. This one did not do that. And like I was saying earlier, if we didn't do that, we're going to fail down to this level. So your first target is 83.50. Your next bearish target is 7,800. And we literally did not miss that by any dollars. We hit that 100%.
Ghetto, now Ghetto, whenever you ask a question, I think you're just trying to troll DejaBrew. But
what do you say? Why don't you
prefer
MACD?
Is it because it's longer term indicator with lagging MA?
Yeah, I don't actually use MACD, and I don't actually use the AO too much either. I use the AO to support my other indicators. MACD, there's no real reason why I don't use it. I've just found my other strategies without using MACD are much more profitable for me.
So why do you use a MACD over that?
I don't use a MACD over that.
Oh, so what do you use over that?
Oh, what I use a CCI. CCI is my MACD.
Specifically, why? over the MACD.
From long-term testing, I've found that my CCI has better entries and it makes me more profitable.
Why would you choose that over like an RSI or specifically a stock RSI?
Probably the same reason. Probably just with all of my testing, the CCI is my most profitable indicator.
Okay, no, actually, this is the first time I've seen that indicator. Actually, I really like it myself.
Yeah, it's really good, man. I'm telling you, it's amazing. And it's hard to say exactly why, because I've tested it so much. But what I would say is the divergence patterns that I see are better than an RSI divergence. The breakout patterns that I see are better than a MACD breakout. The neutral zone testing and retesting are much better than what's that other indicator that I can't think of the other indicator that people use for like neutral zone kind of infractions.
Someone want to chime in? It's not Satoshi.
But yeah, to determine trends in a neutral zone, I find my CCI is much better than whatever that other indicator is that I can't think of. So out of all those indicators that you guys keep naming, I find that my CCI is better than all of them. I'm not saying that you'll find it the same way, but throughout my personal trading, my CCI is better than staring at an RSI, a MACD, ADX, any of those.
Well, that's a great thing about this space is everybody finds what they need to find where they need to go.
Exactly.
The key is understanding the fundamentals and why you're seeing what you're seeing in that chart. Well, guys, we have kept DejaBrew here like a half hour overtime. Mattler's standing in the background.
It's actually,
like,
I think,
dancing.
an hour. It's almost 2 hours overtime.
Really?
I was supposed to get off at 4.
It's
all good though. I'm having fun. So as long as you guys want to keep
6:30?
It's 5:30 where I am.
Okay. We've kept DejaBrew like an hour and a half overtime. All right, Twitch chat. Let's give it up for DejaBrew. DejaBrew. Which do you prefer?
DejaBrew is actually.
Let's give it up for DejaBrew.
Yeah, thanks for being on, dude.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Do you want to link your Twitch there in the chat one more time?
Yeah, I'll link it.
And thanks to your followers for both their useful and unuseful questions. I'm looking at you, Ghetto.
Actually, Starlord GG has another question. What are your BB settings?
My Bollinger Band is a 12 and a 2, and my CCI is a 50. I will be streaming right after this, so if you guys have any more questions, just please hit me up.
You come back next Friday?
If you want me to, sure. Oh no, actually, I've got class next Friday, so it depends on what time.
All right, that'll have to do for now.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Thanks so much.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I was nervous at first, but once I got talking, it was a lot easier.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it.
Yep.
I'll see you guys later. Let me let me log out on my TradingView so you guys don't get all my fancy stuff.
Secrets.
Copy.
Yeah.
Print screen.
All right, I think you guys are good to go.
Awesome, bud. Thanks,
Thank you so much for having me,
thanks
guys.
so much, man.
It was a fun time. I'll see you guys later.